Right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Jeez, I'm trying to fix a couple of things here. Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your friend, Mr. BDA. I'm glad everybody could be on board for this one. Yes, the season to be jolly, the holiest of seasons. Glad everybody could be on board for this one, guys. We got a fantastic show. We're going to be talking about Anthony Joshua, his upcoming fight against Kubrat Pulev, and everything in between. See what happens there. Before we get down to the fun, fellas, you know the drill. Let's get the business out of the way. If you get a couple of shekels that you can send our way, you can certainly do so via the super chat feature during the stream. You can also go to the BDA Patreon page or the BDA PayPal page. But the most important thing is that you continue to support the show, spread the BDA gospel. There's still a lot of unbelievers out there. And you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, fellas. Don't forget about the BDA merchandise store set up by the finest Italian gay guys. Look at us. Mugs, t-shirts, whatever you want for the hardcore boxing fans. We also got a couple of that t-shirt that Buccio designed for the British fans. And then, yeah, he's got a couple. Buccio did a good job with it, man. So go check it out if you're interested. Give a shout out to, I forgot to do it last episode, by the way. Shout out to Michael Poe, who donated with the super chat twice. And he says, in case I miss something and fall asleep, my dad's been sick, so you're one of the few to make life's work tolerable. Thank you, Michael Poe. And I hope your dad feels better, man. In this season, Christmas. Sucks to be sick during Christmas, but hopefully he starts feeling better. And Michael donated again later and says, I'd like to call in. I was on hold the other day, but I have a cheap program. See the 351 area code answer. I will certainly do that, Michael. We're going to be opening up the phone lines, by the way, later on when I hear what people have to say. Shout out to Michael Poe, J Blues Radio, Wayne Hennessy, Uncle Burn Apostrophe, Guerrero de la Info, Kevin from Chicago. Shout out to Kevin. Ignorant Boxing, Dead Game Boxing. Shout out to Dead Game, Guerrero de la Info, Blue Collar Sports TV. Shout out to Del Boy. Check out his channel, Captain Handsight, Kid Top Skull, Volts UK, and Fight Film, aka Precise in the chat room as well. He says, Pulev's gonna go lie down like a good boy. Sorry. Yeah, we'll see, man. We will see, indeed. Also here on the StreamYard, I see we've got, hold on a second, we got Gonzalo and Stu on the line. Fellas, are you there?
Hey, how's it going, Mr. BDA?
Hey, what's up, bro?
How's it going, fellas? Thank you for being on, man. Listen, we're talking about AJ versus Pulev. Gonna be happening this Saturday. And I titled the video, Is AJ fragile? Is Anthony Joshua fragile? Is he a bitch? Because I hear a lot of people calling him a bitch in message boards all over the... I'm just telling you what I heard. Don't blame the messenger. So my question is Anthony Joshua... I mean, because he's expected to beat Pulev, and we'll get into that. But I got to ask you, right, straight off the bat, I'll start with Stu. Stu, is Anthony Joshua fragile? And is he going to crumble one of these days?
Look, I'm not sure if he's fragile physically. Mentally is my worry with Joshua right now, because I find him mentally fragile. Physically, no, look, say we like about Joshua, but he's took big shots, and you know he's never been starched on the canvas like Dillian White. I mean, the Ruiz defeat was just basically a lack of stamina. You know, in the end, he just didn't have anything left in the tank. I mean, he was just too big, too muscly, got caught with a big shot, couldn't get his legs back. I wouldn't say he was fragile. I mean, the shot Klitschko landed on him would have knocked out a fucking buffalo. So, you know, I just think with Joshua, I need to know where he is mentally after this fight. I just think that Ruiz defeat haunted him. I mean, don't get me wrong, he reacted the way you expect a champion to react. He went back to the drawing board. You know, he worked on things he needed to work. He took some of that muscle off, which was a must. And he got the job done. But it was hardly a 5-star performance. You know, it was just one of them where get the job done and move on sort of thing. That's my problem with Joshua right now. I just don't know where he is mentally. But I still feel he's going to have enough for Pulev.
I see. Gonzalo, how about you, man? What do you think? Is Anthony Joshua fragile?
He's got knocked down, but he's never stayed down. The fight got stopped on his feet. He took the immediate rematch. Okay, he's modified his style where he's utilizing his legs and throwing get off me punches. That's the biggest concern. Can he still mix it up and get the knockouts like he used to? He certainly has the power. But his real defense is not throwing the get off me punches, it's throwing the knockout punches that he can do. That's what's really going to keep the heavyweights honest.
Mm-hmm.
For another guy to not close the distance, what is it better? To get on your back foot and throw and do this sort of like cute style of boxing, or really put some hurt on your opponent to keep him honest? And Anthony Joshua has to do, he has to mix it up to where he's utilizing his boxing like he put in practice in his last two fights. I think it was the Parker one and the Ruiz, but also go back to being the throwback fighter that he was when he was knocking these guys out. Even when he got hurt against Klitschko, he got up and took the fight to the guy and eventually got the knockout himself. So that's what he needs to find, that medium.
All right, now that's a good point. I mean, you guys are making the good point that he never really did hit the canvas against what's his name, against Ruiz. Now, also here's the thing though that's worrying a little bit, because he's come out now and he said, "Oh, look, I'm looking for the knockout here, round 7 or 9," and he's talking about, if Wilder wants something, he can still get it. The offer still stands. He says he's still open to that fight, even though Eddie Hearn says, well, I want Wilder to get a title first, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. It seems like the Fury fight is in the horizon, just like the Wilder fight was back when they were both undefeated. What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to learn from his mistakes and stop overlooking big fights and stop overlooking the fights in front of him and stop getting the celebrity status to get to his head? Or is he more humble now, essentially, is what I'm asking?
This is the problem with Joshua, man. This is the problem with Joshua. He's always thinking of the next challenge and not the one that's in front of him. And that always catches up to you in the end. He can't keep overlooking opponents. I mean, all right, it's at a different level, but completely different level. But Anthony Yard found that out the other night, where he's looking at the next guy, and he thought all he had to do was just turn up, go through the motions. It's going to be enough. And no, like I said, this is the problem with Ruiz. He was talking about Wilder, Fury, Wilder. Forgot Ruiz was in front of him. Then look what happened. Sent the Wilder fight back completely. If anything, no one's calling for it now. But sent his career back a year, because at the time he's got his rematch, he's done his another training camp. It's another 6 months down the line, and then before you know it, you're going to need another 6 months before your next fight. So just... it's wasting a year of your career when you have a bad defeat like that. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be up for everyone. You got to treat even the journeyman. You got to treat them like you're in there with a dangerous fucking guy. That's got to be the mindset, the mentality. Surely, I mean, I know it's easier said than done. I mean, we've all seen sports. When there's an easier opponent in there can be shocks, because some guy just turns up, doesn't take things serious, and before you know it, he's on the end of a beating. So it very rarely happens, though. But look, Joshua, once you get to that world title level, like Joshua, when you're holding belts, most of these guys you're fighting are going to be at least dangerous. You know what I mean? Dangerous at least. Do you know what I mean? And you got to take them serious. Look, Andy Ruiz proved that.
Absolutely, it's like you said, easier said than done. But at the same time, it is a job. Boxing is a job, and if these guys don't take it seriously, you can see what happened to what's his face, Anthony Joshua there. I see we got Bucho on the line, but Bucho, before we get to you, man, let me just read a couple of super chats here. Michael Poe donating, and he says, "Kevin, I'm not drunk, I'm just rich, and I have nothing else to do with it but to give it to people who deserve it." Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I hope he's talking about us, by the way, about us deserving it. And Michael Poe again says, "Calm down, Kevin. I'm up soon and assess if I'm drinking. Also, pay attention to the proper quotation mark. So, Kevin, take it easy and relax." All right, so I think Kevin's going after Michael Poe, who is our top donator right now. And Kevin says, "Michael, I love you, baby." All right, there you go. See, it's all love in the chat room, man. It's all love. Bucho.
I don't know Kevin's obsession with the Jake Paul and Logan Paul, man. I mean, he needs to give that a fucking rest, man. What the...
Man, listen,
I was about to say about the question of the show, is Anthony Joshua fragile? Is Tyson Fury fragile? I mean, he got dropped by Steve Cunningham. You know what I mean? Like, right. So I agree with what Gonzalo said. Joshua went down against Andy Ruiz, but multiple times, but he got back up. And so he wasn't knocked out like Amir Khan or something like that. He took a Klitschko shot. He got back up. He took a Dylan White shot. He didn't go down, but he was staggered. And Dylan White can punch. He survived. So I think his chin is not that bad. Yeah,
he's got heart as well, Joshua. He's got heart. You know what I mean? He won't. Look, I know people say he quit. I don't think he quit. I just don't think he had enough energy to even answer the referee back. I think that's just how bad he was when it comes to the tank that night. But look, I don't think. I think there's a toughness about him. I just don't think he's a natural fighter. That's the problem. Where Tyson Fury is a natural fighter, I don't think Joshua is. But look, to say Joshua is a bitch or fragile is fucking ridiculous. I mean, Povetkin broke his fucking nose. You know what I mean? And he carried on. You know, he took a monster shot off Klitschko. I mean, that shot of Klitschko, how he got up from that, I'll never know. But he got up from that. You know, he got hit with a big shot from Dillian White. You know, so look, to say he's a big, and Andy Ruiz hit him with big shots. So look, I don't think he's a big. Mentally is my worry in this fight. I just don't know how. I'm not sure if he's recovered from that defeat still. He doesn't seem to be the Joshua of old. And when you start trying to change your style up, I know that game plan worked against Ruiz because he was a slob in there. He just looked at a mess. He had no footwork. He was just slow. But when you're in there with someone that's in shape and got a bit about him, I mean, that game plan is just not going to be enough for Joshua. I don't think he's defensively sound enough to. I like to see Joshua when he tucks up behind his guard, strolls forward and lets his hands go. Do you know what I mean? I know dangerous game to play, but you got to play to your strengths. Joshua's strengths, getting at mid-range and let his hands go.
I think what really bothered Anthony Joshua in the Andy Ruiz fight was the speed. Because imagine you're a good boxer, like Anthony Joshua's a good boxer, but you can't have it fully under control because you're getting hit with punches that you don't see. So you're not seeing the punches, you're not in control. And your belts are on the line. Okay, now you're fighting the shorter guy and he's hitting you with shots on the top of the head. So that shot that he got hit on the top of the head, he didn't see it. So that's what really bothered Joshua, the fact that he couldn't be in control of the situation. Because
he never recovered from that first knockdown. He never recovered.
Yeah, he didn't, mate. But the problem for me with even in both fights really was Joshua always looked second to the punch when they were trading at mid-range and in the pocket. Ruiz just looked far faster with his hand speed, and he looked like he'd always be the first to land that big one. And I think, Joshua was lucky to get away with, even in the second fight, he was close to being hit with big shots. Do you know what I mean? And I think if Ruiz had let his hands go a little bit more, he might have caught him. I mean, Joshua defensively was pretty poor that night. I mean, he fought, when you're fighting with fear, you just make mistakes. It's just simple as that. I mean, it's like fighting with a fear where you respect the opponent and you up your game. But when you're fighting a fear of getting caught with a shot, there's a difference. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, but we have to give credit to Joshua for taking the rematch immediately after, because I remember even Eddie Hearn. Well, come on, so he could have taken a tune-up fight, and actually a lot of people said that. I think even Eddie Hearn said that. Like, they wanted
while he took that tune-up fight, Wilder would have fucking done a sneaky one. Got the Ruiz fight, probably knocked him out because Ruiz would have turned up in that shape. And then Joshua was never going to see his belts again. So yeah, he did the right thing. It was the only thing he could do really to save face. I mean, come on, man, it was an embarrassing performance.
And he won.
He did.
Maybe you didn't like the performance. No, I didn't like the performance. But come on, you gotta give the guy credit. He's strong enough to take the rematch and go in there and beat the guy who beat him.
I'm giving him credit. What do you want from me, man? I'm just saying, I'm not sure.
I'm not talking about you in general, but in general.
I'm not sure where he is mentally still. I still see a fragile Joshua mentally. Look, it's all good looking good and talking confident on social media, but it's just different when you're in there. And look, when he's close to Tyson Fury, and that guy is in the ring with him. I mean, you saw even Wilder didn't realise how big Fury was, because with Fury coming big that night, and you saw Wilder when Fury took his gown off, was like, fucking hell, the size of him. And you can see the fear in Wilder's eyes. I'm not saying Josh is going to be like, but that's when he'll know if he's mentally right, because That's a big guy in front of you. Do you know what I mean? And a guy that's a bit crazy as well. That's a crazy guy in front of you as well. And I don't know, man. Pulev's perfect for fucking Joshua. That's the problem. Pulev's style will suit Joshua. Pulev with his single shots, he'll get counted all night and he'll get knocked out. I think Pulev's getting knocked out in that. But it's when you talk the other guys, I don't know, man. Let's see in it. Let's see how he is Saturday. He might go in there and be like $1 million. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's essentially what I'm trying to get at here myself, which is Fury. I mean, Joshua had that last fight against Luis, which was his revenge, title at revenge. It was his redemption story, in other words. And I think he went with the approach of win this one, look good in the next. Well, this is the next. He's fighting a 39-year-old dude who doesn't have the best defense. As far as heavyweights go, he's not the biggest puncher either. I mean, he can crack, don't get it twisted, but, he's not exactly Deontay Wilder. So if Joshua doesn't look good, should we take a credit away from the guy? Anybody can...
Sorry, what's the question? What's that again? Say the question again, please. I didn't get that.
All right, I said, considering the fact that in his last fight against Luis, Joshua, that is, he was with the mentality of win this one, look good in the next. Well, this is the next one. If he doesn't look good against
that's where I am. I just said let's see how he is on Saturday. I'm not trying to throw Anthony Joshua in the bus. I know I've got one of his little fan girls in the chat that's saying I'm like giving Joshua shit, but I'm not. I'm just trying to be honest. I just don't know physically. Like I said, I've just stuck up for him and said, no way is this guy a bitch or fragile. In no sort of way. You don't achieve what he's achieved if you're a bitch, right? Just don't happen, man. But it's just mentally where he is for me, and because I saw. I mean, Del Boy in the chat noticed what I noticed, where he was fragile that night against Ruiz. He fought quite timid, if you ask me, and it looked like he could get caught. If Ruiz had just done a bit more, I think he could have caught Joshua, because he was skimming Joshua's head by millimeters and he was out of shape and slow on the night. I think if he'd have been in shape, Joshua could have been in all sorts of trouble again. Right. So this is where I am. I just need to know where he is, because I just think that style Ruiz had as well just didn't suit him at all. He likes to sit at mid-range, throw combinations, but thing is, Ruiz was a lot quicker to the punch, a lot quicker hands, and he was struggling. That's why he had to fight a distance in the second one. I get that. But you're talking about how is he going to perform against Pulev? And what I saw against Ruiz in the second fight, I still don't think he's got over the defeat in the first fight. And that's where I am.
Right. Well, listen, let me tell you, hold on, Gonzalo, let me tell you why I brought up that question, all right? Because, and this is one such comment that I saw on Boxing Scene, and you guys can see it on the Discord. I'm sharing the screen here. This is because Joshua said, and let me read the quote here. He said, I know I'm more motivated than Pulev. I feel like I'm the challenger coming in, and blah, blah, blah. He hopes to take Pulev out between rounds 7 and 9. Sort of like Daniel Jacobs said he wanted to take out Rosado and then just fought very passively. But anyway, somebody on Boxing Scene said, stay humble, Joshua. Don't talk like you're about that life. Remember, you quit and ran like a bitch from Andy Luiz. Salute to the mighty bronze bomber. No surrender. Death before dishonor. So the Wilder fans are comparing Joshua's performance against Luiz with Wilder's and saying that Joshua, he won, but he ran like a bitch. Meanwhile, Wilder lost to Fury, but he was willing to die in there. Gonzalo, what do you think about that?
You can't say that. You can't say that because he got the W. He fought a fighter that had beat him the first time because he had the quicker hands, so he wasn't about to make that same mistake again. It's pretty exasperating to get hit with punches that you don't see. So for you to feel that you're in control and that you're taking the steps that you need to in order to get the W, you're going to do what it takes. I'd rather outbox a guy than be in there and not know a split second later that I'm getting hit with shots that I don't see. Because you could think you're winning the fight, then all of a sudden you get hit with that looping head shot over the top of the cranium, and then you're gonna be like, oh well, back to square one again, and you're gonna go with the feeling that you unfulfilled what you wanted to do in the rematch because you got hit with the punch that you did not see coming. Yeah. So just to feel that you're in control of the situation, he needed to do what he needed to do, and strategy wise, you got to come to understand if there is a limitation, that if the guy's faster than you, okay, I'm gonna do what it takes for me to get that W. And here it's a different story because you got a guy with a different fighting style. Now, if he goes in there passively, get on the back foot, and throwing these get-off-me punches against Pulev, now that's an indication that he shook. But for me, the adjustments that he did was just to fight that style against Andy Ruiz, not because he dialed it back because he has no options anymore. He's going to fight the way
Pulev's going to be a lot easier to deal with for Joshua because Pulev throws single shots. And he doesn't throw many of them. He doesn't throw many of them either. So he's not going to have to deal with some shorter guy in his face throwing fast combinations that he just couldn't deal with. I mean, let's be real. He just couldn't deal. Pulev's not going to be fighting like that. Let's be real. But Pulev, all Joshua has to do is take that right hand away, and the fight's a comfortable night for him. But that's what I'm saying. My problem's not even Saturday night against Pulev. My problem is when he steps up even higher and against these other guys, there could be guys there that are causing problems with hand speed, and I think that's what he struggles with. And look, say we like about Fury, but he's got good hand speed and he's got good range with him as well. So
but every style presents challenges. You know that, Stu. And with Pulev, the hurdle he's going to have to cross is that Pulev throws a lot of shots, a lot of stabbing shots to the body. Now, there's been a little bit of a question about Anthony Joshua's stamina. Yeah, I think that he hopes to knock him out earlier rather than later, because if Pulev starts investing to the body with stabbing shots, straight punches to the solar plexus, he could take something out of Anthony Joshua. So it would behoove him. It'd be in his best interest to get him out before 7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's why Pulev has to do his work. I think he has to start. I mean, anyone that's fighting Joshua, obviously, you have to do it smartly, because when you do too much body work, you could end up on the end of a big shot. But he's got to be invested in the body for later on, because that's when Joshua. That's when he always goes to about 7-8 rounds. His tank seems to just empty, and then he sort of gets a second breather. 9, 10, and 11, he'll go again. But there's a couple of rounds after the mid rounds where he just fucking seems to slow down. His tank goes, and that's where he's for the taking. But I just don't think Pulev brings enough pressure, brings enough. He just doesn't bring enough arsenal to his game. If you get what I'm saying, it's just a jab and a right hand. That's what you're getting from Pulev.
Absolutely, I agree, man.
A jab and a straight right. That's what you get.
And even
now,
then,
BDA.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you ask me, did I like the second Ruiz Joshua performance? No, not really. To be honest, it's not that it was a great fight, but inherently, I think Anthony Joshua will always be exciting because he goes down and he punches hard. So you got those two things that he brings to the table. There's always going to be for an exciting fighter. I mean, unless he completely runs from now on, he gets on the back foot. But I don't expect that in this fight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You never know how a guy's going to fight. But Joshua is intimating that he wants to take Pulev out of there. I think, though, Joshua is the type of guy that he's dangerous when he's throwing combinations because he's pretty quick. I've said it before. We've talked about it before here with you guys, and you've mentioned it too about how he's pretty quick-handed for a guy who's about 240 pounds. That being said, like Gonzalo and I were talking about also once we rewatched, along with Recognize, we rewatched the Ruiz Joshua, the first one. The first mistake that Joshua made, and it was pretty apparent, it was what caused the whole house to crash down on him, was he traded with Ruiz, which was a big no-no. But he learned the hard way. But when he got hurt against Dylan White, again, because he was trading. So he has to stop trading. It's a difficult line to follow because if he doesn't trade, it becomes boring. But if he does trade, he's vulnerable. And I think he's pretty vulnerable to those shots to the temple and those left hooks. He needs to learn to keep that right hand pinned to his chin, and hopefully he's learned from that. So we're going to see.
I don't think it's that he's vulnerable when he's trading. I just think he's vulnerable when he's in there with someone with faster hands than him. That's the problem. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is, mate. And look, Ruiz was coming underneath Joshua's punches. He weren't seeing them. He's a small guy, and he's got, terrific hand speed for a guy in terrible shape like that. Do you know what I mean? So, I just think that style is all wrong for him. I really do.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Chisora's the sort of guy that could give Joshua problems. I know you might laugh at me in that. Like, I picked Joshua to win that, but Chisora's style is a sort of style that give Joshua all sorts of problems. It is.
Yeah, overwhelming.
And not because of hand speed; it's just pure pressure.
Yeah.
You know what?
You know what? Go ahead, BDA.
Go ahead, Gonzalo. Go ahead.
Sorry. And you know what? To be fair, Anthony Joshua is really smart, and I do believe that he sees most of the shots coming. If he can keep his hand, like BDA was saying, I don't know what he said right now, but I could imagine it where he's tucking his hand from his top of the head to the side of his face. I seen him do that. If he can continue doing that, yeah. But I think he sees most of the shots coming. But Ruiz, he's just a really fast fighter. Luckily for Ruiz, I don't think we'll see that version of him again. Hopefully we will. But there's not too many fighters in the heavyweight division that can match Ruiz's speed.
No, so that's
kind of good for Anthony Joshua because he's a smart fighter. He can see most of the shots coming.
Joshua's hand speed is quite decent for a big guy, man. Right. His hand speed is quite good. And he looked donkey slow in there against Ruiz. It was just amazing the difference.
That's right.
Even when he traded with him, in a few seconds, he tried to trade with him a little bit in the second fight, which was a bigger, fatter Luis.
He got big.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So nobody should be trading in there against Luis. He's just too dangerous to do that. Keep that fatso on the outside, and or if you can, throw a tackle into one corner and distract him, and then whack him with the right hand. And by the way,
this is why I don't have a problem with Anthony Joshua's game plan in the second fight. No problem at all. My problem is when he moves on, where is he mentally? Because that was a fragile performance in the second fight. I don't care what anyone says. He looked a nervous wreck in there, and that can't be a good thing.
And that's why I mentioned what I did, BDA, because look, he's taller and he was hunching down on Ruiz. So imagine you're not seeing the hand speed, but the shot that hurt you was a shot coming from the top of the head. So how could you assume if you're the taller fighter that you're getting hit over the top of your skull if you're facing the shorter guy? Well, he got hit with an overhand right from that kind of went out and around.
That's right.
Joshua's guard and hit him over the top of the head.
Joshua usually fucks up these big guys, though, doesn't he? Look what he did. I know he's Dominic Brazil, but he fucking made a mess of that guy. The big guys, he pounds all over the place. It's the smaller guys, the Joseph Parkers, the Takams, the Ruizes. These are the guys he's struggling with. Joshua just doesn't know how to punch down. He just doesn't. And this is the problem. These little guys are just coming underneath him. Joseph Parker, I mean, he did nothing, and he still was in that fight for 12 rounds.
Hey, by the way, can I just say real quick, shout out to Michael Poe, who donated the super chat. He says, AJ is great, and I'm honest, he has accomplished a lot of things. He certainly accomplished more than any other heavyweight right now. I think he deserves to be on paper the number one guy, but whether he can beat Fury, we're going to get to that. Also, I'm going to be opening up the phone line soon, fellas, so stay tuned for that one, everybody in the chat room.
Yeah, but sometimes, I know Josh has got but I know Josh has got the belts and stuff, but
right.
you got to look at the facts here. I mean, them belts, he didn't really take them off the champion, did he? I mean, look, they were Fury's belts. I know Fury lost them, and I don't have a problem with Fury getting them stripped. He deserved to be stripped. But Joshua never really took those belts off Fury. So for me, Fury has to be number one guy. He's got the Wilder in America and Klitschko in Germany is better than anything Joshua's done for me, because when you look at it, the minute Joshua left the UK, his comforts of the UK, it was an absolute disaster. I mean, it was embarrassing to watch. So come on, man. I mean, I don't think you can say. Let's not count the belts and class that the guy as the number one, man. You just can't do that, I don't think. Especially when them belts were fucking. Well, I mean, look, Charles Martin. I mean, he won the IBF title off Charles Martin. Let that sink in.
You make a compelling argument, Stu. Let me get Uncle Pete on this one. Pete, thank you for being on, man. Really appreciate it.
What's up, fellas?
Good to have you on board, man. What do you think about what Stu just said? Do you think Joshua is the lineal heavyweight by virtue of the fact that Tyson Fury went on a cocaine rampage, reminiscent of Mike Tyson in his prime? Or do you think that Joshua, because he's beaten guys like Joseph Parker and Dylan White and so on and so forth, he deserves to be the number one heavyweight in the world? What's your take on this?
Wow. Well, speaking of what Stu said, I'll start from the top. You can't blame a guy for going on a cocaine rampage. I mean, listen, enjoy yourself. Number two, every time I think of that Charles Martin fight, I just fucking laugh. Just thinking about him entering the ring in that Prince outfit, that with the king, with the scepter.
I know. You couldn't get a pair of shorts up fitted properly.
Okay, and then You know what? Hey, for me, I guess it's like an eye test thing at this point, bro. Because you can't. I mean, they're all taking such different trajectories, but for me, I got AJ number one. I want to see that fight. I want to see that Fury fight, but I don't know about Lineal. I hear what you're saying. He dropped those belts technically, so to me, Lineal, you got to take those belts off of the last guy that had them. So of course, he's not Lineal in that sense, but belts aside, I got AJ number one in the heavyweights.
All right, well, there you go. Now, the question then becomes, though, you have number one, but people still feel out there, and I read a couple of comments of what people are saying about Joshua. People feel that it's just a matter of time before he loses again. He's going to take a guy lightly. He's going to get tagged in the temple, the chin, whatever, and he's going to go down. But so far, look, he did look a little shaky against Povetkin. He took him out. Looked a little shaky against Dylan White, took him out. Looked hesitant against Parker, but beat him by decision. He avenged his loss against the guy who beat him, Luis. So
It was a good fight.
Yeah, I think he does have the goods here. But as far as when we compare him to other heavyweights from the past bygone eras, he still's got work to do. I think he's got something to prove. Now, here's the problem, though. What's his name? Pulev is saying now that he's dedicating this fight to his father because his father's dream was to have a heavyweight champion son. Actually, he's got two sons. So the quote he said was, "My father's late dream, this is why me and my brother are here. His project was to have sons and for them to become boxing champions. And we are now real as opposed to fake. This is now fact. He looks down from above and I'm sure he's happy. He wants to win on Saturday night with me." So he's got... he's talking about spirituality and maybe a little witchcraft, if you ask me. That's what it sounds like. But he's saying he wants this win. Does this extra motivation scare you guys a little bit in the sense that he might be bringing something extra to the game?
Who's bringing extra?
Pulev. He's dedicating this fight to his late father.
Well, he fucking needs to. Because what he's been bringing to the table recently is not going to be nowhere near enough. I mean, come on, man. I mean, he's going to need fucking Harry Potter's wand to win that one.
Oh, man. All right, I got you. So you're saying it's a no-go for Pulev. But then again, like I was telling you guys, Joshua seems to be overestimating him a little bit. He's already talking about Fury and Wilder and, he's probably...
Overlooking him. Yeah,
overlooking him, yeah. By the way, we got the phone lines open, people, so the phone number's right there on the middle left portion of your screen. Call in. We got a phone call, fellas. Let's see who's on the line. Hold on a second. 917, you're on the air. 917. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thanks for having me on, BDA.
No problem, man.
The panel.
Yeah, that's Mr. BDA.
To you.
No, it's okay. The callers don't have to do that. Okay, go ahead, caller. What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, look, man, I saw the title, the title of this video, and I've been wanting to tell people this for a long time. People might get mad at me, but I know why people don't like Joshua. I know exactly why, man. First, let me ask you guys something. What does Anthony Joshua, Ryan Garcia, and a young Oscar De La Hoya have in common? Does anybody know? Can anybody take a guess?
Who wants to take that one?
Ripped abs. Stockings. I don't know what.
They're all pretty boys. That's about it, really, isn't it? They're all pretty boys. I know that.
That's why.
The ripped abs.
Exactly. And just because of that, people automatically will hate you when you're perceived as like a, considered a good-looking guy.
I know that curse.
You're automatically gonna have haters. You're automatically gonna be a diva, and it's like this.
I know exactly how AJ feels.
It's like
I said the same thing, man.
Athletic, talented guy, and be good-looking at the same time. Life is not fair, and these people feel like it's just not fair. Like it's like their business or something.
Yeah, but then they really need to evaluate their life, caller, because not once have I looked at Joshua and think, yeah, he's a good-looking guy. I'm going to hate on him for that. You know what I mean?
Not you, but the general masses. I'm not saying you, but you see the hate that Ryan Garcia has.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but Ryan Garcia deserves it for being a puffer.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, hold on a second. What is this?
What about a young?
Well, he prances around like a fairy, doesn't he? Wearing fucking lipstick and fucking pink shirts. Get out of here, man.
Dancing.
All right, hold on, caller. I think I get what you're saying too, because like on a subconscious level, people always hate the diva, the guy who's got the looks and he's gonna get endorsements, he's gonna get female fans. Like already, like if you look at AJ's Instagram, there's a lot of women there commenting, and also a lot of gay guys, which is kind of disturbing. But anyway, I get what you're calling, caller. Like the people subconsciously, some people subconsciously hate the guy. Now, Stu, I don't think they do it consciously. Because look, everybody here on the panel, we're all blessed with the same.
We're in a society now where when you see someone that's doing better than you, you have a little bit of a green-eyed in you. Not all of us, but there's a lot of us. Look, it's a green-eyed monster. The guy's a good-looking guy. He's got a shiny six-pack. He's a multi-millionaire, and he knocks people out. What else can you ask for from a man? Most women love that, don't they? That's what they ask for, sort of thing. So yeah, come on, mate. Look, if you're the thing is, if you're jealous of Joshua because he's got a few chicks after him, then you really need to evaluate your life, man. I'm here for the boxing. I don't give a fuck what he looks like, you know. As long as he's putting on the performance, that's all I care about. I mean, look, when it talks to looks, he's got no. He ain't got to worry about Pulev stealing the show when it comes to looks, is he? On Saturday. Do you think
AJ would excel in? Do you think AJ would excel in gay porn?
Look, that's a stupid. I'm not answering that. Move on.
Hey, BDA, that's the problem with Oscar De La Hoya. He had everything in life that nothing thrilled him anymore. That's why he decided to throw on them fucking
fishnets.
What is it? The fishnets.
Fishnets, yeah, but that's the thing about Joshua. Something like about Joshua, he's not wearing fishnets, is he?
You're saying
in a
midlife crisis,
and putting lipstick on and doing selfies with lipstick and fishnets on. So look, and he's not Ryan Garcia either. Ryan Garcia. I mean, I've just said what I think about him. I mean, Joshua's an alpha. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't know about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What you like about the guy? He's a fucking heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, does it get any more alpha than that?
Well, let's
Ryan
get down
Garcia
to
got like three children from different baby mamas. I think he's just an inhibited.
Yeah, but so have I. So have I. What's that mean? That don't mean anything. I've got.
But he's like 17. He's like 17
I've got 4 from 3 different women. So what, man?
Well, you nailed 2 with 1 stone like me. You're a twin.
Yeah, I mean, I got a fucking I got stitched twice in one night, if you get what I'm saying.
All right, but hold on. Let's get back to the caller here. Caller, look, you're talking to 4 guys here who are blessed, you could say, with the curse of being extremely good looking. I mean, we're urbane, we're witty, we're charismatic, we're the total package. And we understand exactly where you're coming from, that we do get that type of hate most of the time.
You know what it's like, bro. You know.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
On you just because people they're jealous. They got nothing going on in their life. You know, they can't stand that someone you have the looks and you're athletic. Because that's like a double.
Yeah, but you can't. The thing is, it's like you can't say everyone's like that, because there's a lot of people that don't like Joshua because the way he acts. There's a lot of people that don't like Joshua because
there is a diva
some of his comments he's made. Some of his comments. Hang on a minute, caller. Some of his comments he's made have been not very tasteful. Let's just say that, and you're not going to get people on side with them comments. And then you've got other reasons why people don't like. But it's not because he has a lot of haters. Don't mean everyone hates him because he's a fucking good-looking guy that's got a lot of money. That's not always the case, man. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's always going to happen, man. That's always going to happen. The good-looking guy's always going to get haters.
Let's move on anyway. Let's talk some boxing. I don't care about who likes.
I do think that when you're on the top and that train comes crashing, that gets derailed. People like if Mayweather would have lost, they would have clowned him, and he's not necessarily the best-looking guy out there. That's what I'm saying.
I was going to say, how do you explain the Manny Pacquiao hate? I mean, look at him. He's looks like a goblin. no disrespect.
Yeah, I mean the fucking I mean look, little Bolo Young's little brother. Do you know what I mean? Come on.
A bull haircut.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
All right, caller. This conversation is bringing down the testosterone here. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
Yeah, my last point. Unless a fighter is trying too hard to be good looking, unless he tries hard to be good looking that he's afraid to get hit in the face. Unless you're that much of a bitch, which I don't think none of them are. I don't think any of them act like a diva. They don't want to get hit in the face. Just look at Oscar De La Hoya. He gets beat up all the time. He doesn't care if he gets hit in the face. So
I think he likes it.
That is the case. You can't really say that, these people, they're acting like a bitch or stuff like that. You know.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's
No,
not fair
the
against
thing, you got people in the chat, right, who's giving me stick because I called him an alpha, right? Because he did a picture for a gay magazine or something. I don't know about stuff like that because I don't really
Alright,
care
that
about
is
stuff
weird.
like
Well,
that. But the
that
thing
I
is,
can
my
make
point
fun of.
is,
If he doesn't
there's got to
get
be
the
some alpha male in this guy. Well, soy boys and beta males do not become heavyweight champion of the world. So, you know, for me, I mean, it just doesn't get any more alpha than heavyweight champion of the world. So whether he fucking looks feminine, whether he goes in gay magazines, is just a different fucking topic for me. It doesn't, you know, if you're talking about alphas in boxing, the heavyweight champion
They
is
say
the
Joshua is
main
pussy because
title.
he quit against
So come on, man.
Red Bull.
Look, let's keep it real. I mean, we sound like a bunch of fucking kids, man.
Well, you guys sound like kids. I don't.
Look, if you don't like Joshua, fair enough. Talk about his boxing ability and his whatever. The way, if you want to talk about him quitting, you can do that. But let's not sit here and talk about this nonsense, man. I mean, talking about doing gay magazines. What if you did a gay magazine shoot?
BDA. I mean, Stuart. Wasn't Alexander the Great bisexual, and he was like a king?
All right, you know what, man?
Look,
That's enough of this, man. That's it. We're
Emil
moving on from this.
Griffiths was a fag. Emil Griffiths was a fag. Call him it, and you'll end up like that fucking guy did. You know what I mean? Well, I can't remember his name now. My mind's gone. But you know, the one he killed in the fucking ring. Look, he's a fag. You're not going to call him an alpha male. Come on, man. Look, I'm not for all that stuff. You know me. I think women are the most beautiful thing God's created. So that's where I stand with all that.
You don't have to say that because then it sounds like thou protest too much. All right, you don't have to say that. Now,
all right, I'll have all the feminists on my backs, innit?
All right, now listen. Hold on a second, caller. Thank you for your call, man. We gotta move on from this because we don't want to talk about queer magazines. All right, shout out, man. Take it easy. Thank you for your call. Oh shit.
You can't judge a book by its cover, Mr. BDA. You can't judge but you can judge a call by its cover because for some reason when that caller, the first 3 words, the way he was talking, I just started laughing and I knew that call was going to be out of left field. All right, let's
You knew where it was going, huh? Yeah. Now you know what? I don't want to be humiliated like this with this type of subjects, man.
Let's roll.
Yeah, that's what I get on my voicemail all the time. All right, enough of that. Let's go to another call here. Hopefully it's not about gay magazines. Hold on a second.
No.
351, you're on the air. 351, what's on your mind?
What's up, Mr. VDA? It's Michael P.
Oh, Michael. Thank you for calling in, man. What's on your mind?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not much, man. I can't wait for the fight coming up this weekend. I'm excited. I think AJ's got it in the bag. I think he was I got to say, I didn't think he was going to beat Ruiz because everybody made it sound very convincing. You know, once a man quits or they claimed he was quitting, you can't come back and blah, blah, blah. This. I believe it was Bucha that had faith. But one of you guys had faith. Nah, he's gonna do it. And you guys are spot on. I think he's a good role model. I could give a crap about his look.
Are you still there, Michael? Oh, he dropped out. All right, well, what do you guys think about that? Because now we're not just talking about his skills as a fighter. Now we're talking about his character and all that. Don't forget, during the summer, he was talking about not going over to white-owned businesses. Is that what he had said? I forgot.
Look, I'm not defending him. The guy's a fucking idiot. And he said some stupid stuff. And he's a cornball. Let's be real. He's a corny-ass motherfucker. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's not an alpha male. I'm not going to sit here and pretend he's fragile. I'm not going to pretend he's a bitch because he's not. I mean, why don't any of these guys in the chat go when you see Joshua, go and call him that and find out for yourself if he's a bitch. Do you know what I mean? Look, I don't mind hating on Joshua for certain reasons, but there's a lot of these guys they hate for the wrong reasons, and I just find it quite corny, to be honest with you, man. Do you know what I mean? Joshua is still a good fighter. I mean, people don't want to give him credit for his boxing because of other things he's done. You know, all right, ruin him for that, but don't sit there and call him a bitch in the boxing. I mean, when he's far from a bitch. This guy's fought fucking Klitschko, Povetkin, Dillian White, fucking the list goes on. Ruiz, Parker. Why is this guy a bitch? I tell you, who's a fucking bitch. Deontay Wilder, that fucking guy. He's a bitch. Fighting bum after bum after bum, and then dragging these bum, fighting them twice in some cases. You know what I mean? getting WBC to stick these clowns at number one mandatory spots, you know, so Wilder can fucking have cannon fodder for food. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, come on, man. That's
I'll tell you, as far as his character goes, I mean, I hate white businesses myself, but I can't blame him for that. But I didn't know he said that. But in all seriousness, though, his mental fortitude is probably the best out of all of them. I was very I was curious to see how he was going to handle that. Oh, come on now, his loss, yeah, Ruiz. That first Ruiz fight, I was kind of curious to see how he was going to handle that, and he really handled it absolutely like you want to see him. If you're rooting for the guy, you really want to see him handle that the way he did. So I don't think that I like the way he conducts himself. You know, I can't argue with that. You compare that to Wilder, and it's just like they couldn't be more different. You know what I mean? They just really,
exactly.
They really couldn't be more opposite of each other, man. Yeah, goddamn.
Look, don't fucking hate on a guy for being a normal human being. That's what I mean. Sean Porter gets hate from the LDBC because he dresses well, he speaks well, and he's got a good relationship with his dad. He's not a thug. So they sort of like talk down about Sean Porter and saying and Andre Ward and people like that. Do you know what I mean? So look, just because you got if every fight was a loudmouth fucking mouthpiece, I mean, he's just got. Then what? You like to have different characters in boxing, do you know what I mean? And Joshua's not the most exciting guy around. Let's be real, he's not. But he's a likable guy. I quite like the guy. But I will sit in here and rip him a new one when he fights like he did against Ruiz in the first, when he takes his eye off the ball, when he gets a bit too big for his fucking boots, when he cares more about his shiny six-pack than he does about being in the right shape.
Stop talking about his six-pack, man. What the fuck? All right, listen.
Stu does not like the workout.
The thing is, right, that's all he used to care about. I mean, everywhere you went in England, you'd see fucking Joshua with his six-pack out trying to sell you something, and he took his eye off the boxing. That's my point.
All right, I got you.
Yeah, I heard you guys. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, B. Go ahead.
No, I heard you before when I first. Sorry, I got my dog.
Lobito number 2. All right,
Lobito,
shut that dog up.
The thing is, the thing is, that you know, I heard you guys talking before I got on about how he fought the second fight with Ruiz, and I'm saying he fought that fight exactly how he should have fought that fight. I know. Listen, I would like to see him get in there and hook off with Ruiz as well, but you know, the guy took stock in what happened. He looked back and he moved on better than he was before the loss. So
yeah, but the thing is, did you get confidence from that performance from Joshua? Did he feel you were confident? Because you can win a fight on the back foot and still look confident doing it. Did Joshua?
Yeah, in other words, he's a professional about it. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Stu. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like I hear you. It's just like I would have liked to have seen Spence hook up in there with Garcia and stand in a phone booth and just hook off with him. It would have been a closer fight if that had happened. But Spence was the same way. He's not going to fucking stand in a guy's wheelhouse and trade shot. The only chance that Ruiz had was to catch him with a hook, inside, mid-range, close, get inside there, and Joshua did his thing. I mean,
yeah, but we have to take into account the shape Ruiz was in. He was a slob in there. I mean, you know, this guy was in no fighting shape. And he had Joshua nervous that night because he was still letting his hands go at times, and he was skimming Joshua's head. I mean, any of them had landed him would have been in the same position as the first fight. I mean, and Joshua knew that. He looked frightened. That's why he was very cagey and worried to let his hands go, because the minute he let his hands go, he was getting tagged up. So he just became cagey. It was very like Joe Joyce, like when fucking trying to win the fight with the jab sort of thing. I mean,
you're right.
That's where we are. But let's not forget here that Ruiz was in dreadful shape.
Yeah, always has been. The thing is this, like, and again, I don't want to keep comparing and like shitting on Wilder or nothing, but you know, we've all watched Wilder for a while now, and we've all seen him win up until this last Fury fight. I mean, we've seen him win and do nothing but win. But every time he wins a fight, you see obvious flaws. Every fight that he wins, I hate to come on after a win and shit on a guy after a win, but you'll go, yeah, he got the knockout, but goddamn, he was fucking.
I mean, there was actually
stunned.
videos. There was videos, right? There was actually 6-minute clips of videos pointing out the errors Deontay Wilder made against Arthur Spilker. I mean, and I think I could have added an extra 3 minutes to it if I'd have done one. I mean, it was just horrible to watch. But look, got the job done. But when you step up to the,
but he never ever improved. You see, he never ever. It was fight after Spilka after.
All right, Pete, you need to move to another room, man. Sorry to interrupt, but that dog, man, it's just...
Shut that chihuahua up already.
I know Pete's in a fucking. Pete's calling from a dog fighting ring, and he's like, "Where's Pete?"
At least he's not fighting. I used to call him from a cockfight.
Get inside. Get inside.
Yeah, but hold on. Let me just take the opportunity to say this real quick, man. We got recognized and we got Jay on the line. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for being on. I just got to go back real quick to a call because Michael P was on the line and he dropped out. Hold on a second, real quick.
I'm here.
All right, fantastic. All right, so you were saying, you were giving Butcher credit for saying Joshua was going to win the rematch. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, many doubted it because everybody sounded very convinced that, man, he quit. You can't come back from that, blah, blah, this. And I was like, yeah, maybe they're right. But it proves he is that athletic, and I think he could pretty much do. What did people expect him to hook with somebody who can hook better? Maybe not more powerful, but the guy's going to get there before you, so why take chances?
That's a good point. Now, Mike, could you talk closer to your phone, please? Because I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah. Right. I got my other one down. I'm not that stupid. I learned that a while ago. But, yeah, he did what he had to do. And,
all right.
I was asking you the question if you could look into the Usyk thing, claiming that he talked to Hearn and Chisora didn't have any padding, and they switched the rings from standard to even smaller, trying to give Chisora as much. And I love English fighters, so I've no beef against him. Just I found it an interesting interview by Usyk.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything about that, guys. Did you hear about?
Yeah. What did Usyk say, caller?
It's called Usyk 17. It's in Ukrainian, but a lot of channels picked it up and then did their own thing on it. Basically says, well, I can't complain too much. It's weird. He's complaining enough to make a stink, but doesn't want to go too far to do anything because he doesn't want to ruin the relationship. That's how it comes off. It's weird.
Mike,
he wants that fight with AJ. That's
I'm struggling to catch what
Mike. Let me ask you something real quick. Are you on speakerphone right now?
Yep.
You are?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I can hear him. You can't hear him?
I can hear him, but people in the chat room are complaining that they.
I'm struggling myself. Yeah.
I'm on a special phone that I can call like long distance cheap.
Yeah, but can you speak louder or put your receiver closer to your mouth or something? Because people in the chat room are having a hard time hearing you.
Certainly. How's that?
A little bit better. All right, so you're saying better? A little bit better, yeah. So you're saying Usyk doesn't want to make a fuss about it, but he has mentioned the subject of some sort of.
It came off weird. It's like he wanted to get it out, but then backtracked when the guy kept asking, "Well, that's serious. Why don't you take somewhere?" And he just like backpedaled. So why even bring it up then?
Yeah, why bring it up? Shut your mouth if you don't have.
Yeah. Of Angus Clemus going up to Eddie Hearn and saying, "Well, you can have our gloves too."
Fellas, what do you think about that? Like we give Wilder shit for talking about nonsense and offering no proof. I think it's the same thing with Usyk. If you're not
what was Usyk saying? He was saying that what was the deal? Something was there was something in his gloves, or there were paddings taken out.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Glove. They felt no padding, and the ring was supposed to be standard. They both agreed on standard. Now we know he likes to move, and they just wanted to get Chisora, let him run free.
Well, the ring for sure I can tell was
small.
Was small, yeah.
Yeah.
And I did
now when we asked what Usyk said, we meant in English. We didn't want it in Ukrainian because that's about all I caught from Mike with his cadence and his phone. But I don't see Usyk making excuses like that, man.
Had English subtitles. They made it perfectly clear, and then other channels.
Okay.
Spent.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm afraid about the Wilder channels trying to say, Oh, does that mean all British people do that? And that made it disgusting. So.
Well, I do agree that most British people are iffy. You know, I don't trust them to save my life. But
small rings.
I don't say that.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
No, but seriously. I mean, if Usyk, what do you guys think? If Usyk is gonna bring something up, like you need to have proof to make this type of accusations.
I couldn't even hear what he was talking. What has he brought up? I'd like someone to tell me.
Okay.
I'm gonna clarify it. Usyk,
go ahead, Pete.
Allegedly, now I don't necessarily believe this, but Mike, Usyk said that Usyk said two things. Number one, they changed the ring size to a smaller size than was agreed to, and also that he felt that the Cesare's gloves were not adequately padded.
All right, now listen. I'm putting up this. Correct. I think, Mike, is the video by a guy named. Hold on, let me see. I'm trying to put up. Is it from Counterpunch Boxing News? Is that where you saw it?
No, it's just Usyk from.
Oh yeah, that guy, the conspiracy theorist.
Is he a conspiracy theorist? I don't know the guy, so I
I
don't
know who he is.
I mean, he's always bringing up these weird conspiracies. Yeah.
What he does is he gives his counter punch. You get it? He gives. Hold on, Mike. He gives his counter punch to conspiracy theories. Meaning,
okay.
You get what I'm saying? So if let's say
Libido,
Deontay Wilder said that Fury was wearing, weights in his gloves, he gives you his counter punch. In other words, like, how's that possible? He comes with a different angle. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Mike. I don't know anything about this. This video. I mean, I need to see.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, I want to see some proof.
But Usyk, I mean, look, Usyk has been all over the world, right, fighting in some of the most partisan places you can go and the most corrupt places you go, because it don't get no more corrupt than Moscow when it comes to boxing. So, look, he's used to that. I'm sure it didn't really bother him. You could have put him in a phone box and then beat Chisora.
It didn't bother him. That's what bothered me, is he brought it up to almost like not bring it up.
I don't believe he did.
Yeah, maybe he should have brought. Look, maybe he shouldn't have brought that up, but. I don't get why Eddie Hearn would do that. I don't see what Eddie Hearn gains off cheating Usyk out of a win to get Chisora a victory.
Well,
what did he gain from that?
Stu, to be fair, I still haven't seen any video indicating that Usyk said this.
Question I want to ask.
All right.
Yeah, it don't make sense to me. It just don't add up. Just don't add up to me.
Hold on. Mike has a question for Recognize, and then we got to move on afterwards. Mike, go ahead. Ask your question to Recognize.
Recognize. You think these YouTubers are going to take over? Because it looks like a lot of people, man, seem to care about them more than the boxers. They're bringing it in.
Exactly.
Recognize.
Wait, what was the question?
The question is, do you think these YouTubers are going to start taking over? Let me ask him, Mike. I'll ask him, Mike. I'll ask him for it. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Recognize.
So I mean, no, we're not going to take over. They're going to.
Go ahead, Recognize. Answer his question.
They're going to participate, obviously, and get paid. They're going to participate and get paid. They're going to get paid,
right?
Good money to put on stupid events against real fighters. What's the kid's name? Jake Paul. Now he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather. Is that confirmed? They're going to really fight? That's a real thing?
I don't know. I guess. I suppose. Anyway, listen, Mike. Hope that answers your question, Mike. We got to move on, but thank you for your call, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, man?
I'll let you go, brothers. Listen, if I don't call and I do fall asleep, I wish you guys a Merry Christmas, and I will.
Me too. You like me.
Merry Christmas, Mike.
All right, take it easy, Mike. Merry Christmas. Guys. Thank you for your contributions, man. Take it easy. Now, fellas, if you have don't forget, fellas, if you have dogs or anything in the background, try to mute your mics, because Mike had a dog too. I think he actually called him Lobito in there. So if you got dogs in the background, dogs as the gypsies call them, try to keep him under control. Because then this is the whole podcast. Then we don't want that. All right, let's go to another phone call.
Chihuahua.
That's not a Chihuahua. That's a fucking pit bull. Let's go to 773. You're on the air. 773. What's on your mind?
Chicago, Kevin.
Jeez Louise.
What's up, Stuart Little?
No, he's going after Stu from the get-go. Stu, he
What
has...
do you want? What do you want now, Kevin from Wisconsin?
What did Stu do to me? What did Stu do to you?
Now, what's going on, guys? I just got a quick point to make regarding Anthony Joshua and Pulev. Tony Joshi, that's his name. Tony Joshi. I can sit here and lie to you, tell you how excited I am for this fight, but another mismatch, another week of boxing. I mean, look at it. It started with Crawford and where the English guy was. Then I went to Danny Garcia, Spence, Murray versus Billy Joe Saunders. It's just one week after the other. Champions fighting mismatch opposition, and they won.
That's been for the last 3 years, isn't it? That's been for the last 3 years, Kev. Nothing's new here. There's no new trend going on around here. This is what we've been getting. All right, we'll get a big fight once in a blue moon, and exactly what it is, once in a blue moon. But look, that's what we get.
Yo, Kevin, but I got news for you, man. If you're expecting a great fight, when it comes to the big fights, you're not going to get it. In theory, they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be the best fights, but there's a lot at risk that they rather lose by close decisions than make it a great fight, as we saw with Teofimo, Lomachenko, Pacquiao, Mayweather, all these fights. The big fights are not always going to deliver like you think, man. If you go back, you're not going to find one.
How many fights? How many big fights have you watched and thought? I'm smelling a lot of rats in these big fights where you feel like they've made an agreement beforehand just to fucking put on a show, and the winner's already decided. If you get what I'm saying, just less damage as possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk that you would rather win by a little bit or lose where you're not getting knocked out and move on to another payday.
Yeah, I mean, look, man. Gentleman's agreement. Look, I won't knock you out if you don't knock me out. Do you know what I mean?
rather watch the fights like Verdejo, Nakatani, those type of fights.
Yeah,
where somebody's trying to gain something.
Yeah.
Y'all boys be quiet. I got something to say.
Go ahead.
You're talking about boring fights. I don't mind a boring
show
fight
now.
if
Press 1
they're evenly
to hear
matched.
important.
If it's competitive, that's what I want to see. I want to see a competitive, evenly matched fight. If it happens to be a style of matchup where it's kind of a defensive, they're clashing, and there's not a lot. That's so be it. The best are fighting the best. Sometimes that happens. I got no problem with that. What I hate is just complete mismatches. Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
People are trying to convince me saying that was a competitive fight. That was competitive. They're both evenly matched. No, it wasn't. Danny Garcia got outworked, got pushed against the ropes, he got beat up. He saw.
Who was trying to convince you, Kev? Any of us? Who's working to try to sell you on anything, man?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I certainly didn't try to convince you. I told you that what Danny was going to do. Turn up, go through the motions.
Wait. If it was a mismatch, why did he last 12 rounds?
That was a good fight, man. I always thought that maybe.
How does a mismatch go 12 rounds?
Gonzalo, it doesn't take much to get you going when it comes to boxing, man.
No, but
Garcia,
Gonzalo gets excited for Huey Fury fights.
I'll tell you why it was 12 rounds.
Yeah, explain a mismatch when it goes 12 rounds. I gotta hear it.
Doesn't mean he got knocked out. There's total wipeouts. There's been so many matches where the guys don't get finished and it's not competitive. One guy was in the driver's seat, one guy wasn't. One guy was in control of that fight, the other guy wasn't. That was just a fight. There's no part of that fight where Danny Garcia had a chance.
If you want to say he was dominant,
the entire time.
If you want to say he was dominant, I get what you're saying. But to say that a guy's a mismatch and doesn't get blown out the fucking box, it's not a mismatch. What a mismatch is. That's not what a mismatch is.
Yeah, it's not a mismatch. It's just a fight that he's not going to win.
Yeah, no, but you guys are missing something.
You
guys are missing something here. You guys are missing something. I think what Kevin is trying to do, he's talking about mismatches, blah, 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 because he wants to come in with the same old narrative that the UFC and MMA is taking over boxing. Kevin, we got Joshua fighting this week. They're trying to set up the Fury fight. We got Crawford Spence being set up, lined up for 2021. Canelo against somebody else. Big things are happening in boxing. You keep talking about MMA. This ain't an MMA show, man. I mean, I like MMA and everything, but are you trying to shit on boxing all the time?
Kev's going on about Jake Paul as well. He's going on about Jake Paul like this guy's going to do anything. Get out of here, Kev.
And how do you know Errol Spence got an iron chin, especially coming back from an accident?
Hold on. One at a time. Was that Kevin?
I was saying, I didn't bring up MMA. I could go on a whole tangent about why MMA is kicking ass, but I won't. I'm talking about...
It's not kicking ass, though. I've stopped watching MMA. And MMA is not kicking ass, mate. Most people I know don't even watch really MMA anymore. I mean, it's become tedious because I think the problem with MMA, they've all become so skilled at these different martial arts. Is that they shut each other out half the time, and a lot of it's on the ground, and that it's just all right. You get a few good fights here and there, but there's no stars in the UFC. I don't really know any of the champions anymore. Back in the day, I knew it was Anderson Silva, St. Pierre, fucking BJ Penn. I knew all these guys, fucking Aldo. But now I couldn't tell you who's the champion. They're just swapping all the time. No one's really looks dominant, and then the guys that are stinking the joint out. So, I mean, come on, man. UFC, you keep telling me how big UFC is. No, but you keep saying how good UFC is at the moment, how great it's done. I don't think it is. I think it's struggling at the moment. Not struggling in America, but in the UK, it's sort of like died a death over here a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just...
Yes, dude, that's an old narrative that's like a 10 years ago narrative that's kind of been worn out and been proven in the numbers to not...
I can't hear two people talking at once. Kev, hang on a minute. Go ahead. Is that Pete talking?
No, it's Jay. Jay, go ahead, man. What were you going to say?
Oh, Jay, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
All right, Jay's not going to talk. Listen, before we continue, just shout out to...
I'm sorry. I got my daughter came by and her...
the show comes first, man. Put your family aside. The show comes first, man. The show comes first. Put your family aside. Go ahead, Jay. What were you going to say?
What I was saying was this MMA taking over boxing and that sport thing. That was like a 10 years ago argument that was valid for a time, but the numbers are proving that's if you're relying on that argument, you're not keeping up with the times. The numbers are proving the fact that ship has sailed on it taking over. It's not really doing that anymore. And like Stu said, it was doing that when they had dominant champions, but the guys are passing the belts around because it's so competitive that people can't follow who's on top anymore. So that saying that's taking over boxing is that ship sailed.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, a lot of them are shutting each other out because they're very skilled guys. They've mastered these different martial arts. Yeah, and then usually, I mean, the wrestlers. Very, very hard to watch wrestlers in the cage. It's very hard. I mean, as a UK guy, we just don't. Our idea of wrestling is The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan, not Jake Shields and people like that. You know what I mean? And fucking Charles Sonnen. Wrestling, we just don't really get it, and that's why we don't. Back in the day where UFC, we like the UFC is when we had a lot of fucking good fighters that would stand up and go toe to toe. All right, they weren't as skilled as they are today, but they were just more exciting to watch.
Yeah. BDA, you totally opened this can of worms. I wasn't even talking about MMA.
Oh, come on. I know you, Kevin. I know you better than anyone, man. Come on.
And listen, and Stu, you were just agreeing with me regarding the kind of you say mismatch, non-competitive. What I'm saying is,
that's a different topic. That's a different topic. That's not a UFC topic, though. That's a different topic.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the predictable boxing matches. I mean, I predicted them all to a T. I said, Kell Brook's going to get washed. He's going to fold. He may look good for a couple rounds, then he's going to melt, and that's exactly what happened.
Fair play.
Danny Garcia is going to get outworked. Martin Murray's just complete. He's washed up. He's older. He doesn't stand a chance. He can get outboxed. You could predict all these fights to a T. You can tell how they're going to go down.
Well, that is the sad thing, Kev. That is the sad thing, Kev. I mean, when was the last time you was ready to watch a fight and you got that butterflies in your stomach, that nervous feeling when there's a big fight on, man? Been a while for me, and that's what I loved about boxing. You get nervous yourself. It'd be like you're going in the ring. You get that nerve. That's when you know it's a big fight. You don't know how it's going to go. the occasion's a big one, but we're starved of them at the moment, aren't we?
You know what, man? I listen, Kevin. This type of
it's the unknown. You want to know what's like. Anything can happen. It's
you know what this type of calls, man. Where this type of calls where people come in and so like, oh, I predicted it perfectly, blah blah blah. Let me just remind you, man. Let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation, and the rich in his humiliation, because like a flower of the grass, he will pass away. Now listen, let's talk about the fight this Saturday, Kevin. Prediction time. Because you're good with predictions. Joshua Pulev, how does it end? What happens?
Joshua knockout.
Pulev.
Oh, come on. You love to fuck with me. You love to screw with me, don't you, Kevin? Come on. What's the matter with you?
No. Pulev. Come on. He's 40 years old. His only chance is to land a lucky home run. I give him about a 10% chance. I give him about a 10% chance. Otherwise, Joshua will finish him.
Hey, you know what I would do? You know what I would do if I were Joshua? Just to be more of the favorite coming into this fight, I would contact Jenny Sushi. Or what was his name again? The one that made the whole big deal of supposedly what's his name? Pulev. I would call her, man. I would bring her into the ring with me, and say, well, it's either he or she, by the way. Because I think there was a controversy about that, whether it was really. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I pay $50 to find out.
Boy.
Hey, listen, Kevin. Sorry you're disappointed, man. It's not boxing is not exciting you. It's predictable. It's circling the drain. But listen, if you're looking for that excitement, man, get yourself a pair of fish nets and a spatula.
Ah, come on.
Okay.
All right.
Now listen, we got Jimmy on hold, guys. By the way, the suicide hotline's closed. Jump. Jimmy's on the phone.
All right, Kevin.
Clearly,
All right, Kevin, we got to go, man. We got to move on. Thank you for calling in, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, man? Ah, geez, Luis. All right. I always forget that he ends the calls that way. All right, thank you, Kevin, for your call. Let's get back to the panel here. We got, like I said, we got Jimmy, we got Recognized, we got a full house, too, everybody. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Jimmy, I wanted to ask you, man. You've been around the block a while. There's this whole, I've been reading a lot of comments on boxing scene and other cesspits, as Stu would call them. And there's a lot of people saying Anthony Joshua sucks. He's fragile. He ran against Luis. What do you think? So far, from everything we've seen from Joshua, how would you rate him as a boxer?
Well, because I don't know him personally, I'm going to go like what you guys see, what we see in the ring, and what he did against Klitschko, right? I mean, there's nothing coward about that. You know what I mean? He took adversity. He come back up, fought like a champion. I think it was more emotional. I think he got more involved in the Instagram fucking championship type. And
exactly.
He was he serious. He was more into his body, into muscles. And boxing become almost secondary, where it was the driving force. I think it was a wake-up call. I think he reassessed. He said, Jesus, I'm not going to have this money. This fame won't continue if I don't reimmerse myself into boxing. He was smart enough to shave 15, 20 pounds off his shoulder girdle, which will give him longevity and stretch. And I think he did what he needed to do, not to get caught with get that fucking ugly fight with Rosie's out of his. He just wanted to get. So that canceled each other out. I was impressed when he did to come back. I don't find him to be a fragile man. Listen. You can have fragile emotional states, like, for instance, Hector Camacho, one of my favorite all-time boxers. I love the fucking Macho Man, even when everybody else hated him. But that dude was a mentally fragile dude. But he was a fucking warrior in the ring. Well, he went a few years. He didn't want to get hit after. But anyways, that type of thing. You can, but there's no fragility.
Jimmy,
you know what I mean?
Jimmy, yes, fragile. I mean, fragile mentally in the boxing ring. I don't know what he's doing out of the ring. I want about in the ring. That was a very nervous, cagey performance, and like I said, it just didn't fill me with confidence watching him. It's just
he looked like he was afraid of getting hit, dude. Yes, yeah. No, with Ruiz, he seemed extra too cautious. Yeah, too cautious. Whether it was maybe it was just Ruiz, maybe Ruiz did something. Because listen, you could be like just dominant dudes, even guys who spot, but there's just one dude who just always seems to catch you. Always, you know what I mean? Just don't see the punch coming. Maybe that was Ruiz. That was him. He just was extra. But it doesn't make.
I think Ruiz style-wise is Vernon Forrest to Shane Mosley. It's just one of them where It's just that style. You're just not gonna. And the only reason Joshua got through that comfortably is because Ruiz didn't train. I think if Ruiz was in shape, I think he'd have won the second fight. Stylistically, it was just a horrible matchup for Joshua. I get that, but mentally, I just think, like I said, the way he fought all night, I still thought he could. Even though Ruiz was a slob in there and doing nothing, you still thought Ruiz could land one. You never felt confident until the bell rang that Joshua was safe. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, by the way, fellas,
isn't that the word they use?
Fill me with confidence at all,
fellas. Before we continue,
right?
Yeah, he was very tentative. Exactly, Jimmy.
Before we continue, shout out to Kenshiro who donated the super chat, and he said, "Check out you guys here today that Clarissa Shields is joining MMA." Yeah, shout out to Kenshiro for his contribution. Yeah, Jimmy told us about that a couple of episodes ago. We'll talk about that later if we can, but that just means she's
skills, man.
What's that?
Fair play to her, mate. You know.
Yeah, well, she ran out of competition in boxing.
Yeah, you got to be brave to get the cage, mate. You got to be very brave. So fair play to her.
She's going to be competing in the men's division.
Did you see her comments today? Did you see what she said today? That thing was posted today about the MMA fans should bow down and throw rose petals at her feet.
Okay. I want to talk about that later. Okay, but hold on. Before we continue, I want to ask.
Go ahead. Yeah,
we'll talk about that. Yeah, I want to save that bullet for later because it is a bullet right in my fucking forehead. I wanted to ask, recognize something. In the beginning of the show, we were talking about Joshua and whether he's fragile, blah blah blah. Stu said that he thinks, in terms of lineage, Fury is still the better guy because he went over to Klitschko's adopted hometown and beat him. Now, my thing is, that performance wasn't exactly scintillating.
And Wilder in America.
Wilder in America.
Look, what did Fury do? When Fury went to Wild, Fury's unbeaten in America. Joshua's had one fight there and got destroyed.
Okay, but recognize, what do you think about that? Like, what's your opinion on
that? I agree. I agree with Stu. Yeah, I agree. Because of, in terms of he's saying who's better, right? Who's the real champion there?
Right.
Basically saying who's the better. Who does he think is the better fighter? Even though they haven't fought each other, I would say yeah. I totally agree with him for the points that he brought up. He's, Fury's been to America twice with Wilder, and also fought in Germany, where Klitschko was like basically being promoted. And most of his fights were there, and so when you add that, yeah, it seems like he's more mentally together, and it shows in the ring.
Fury's more mentally together than AJ
in the ring.
But hey, recognize. Side note though, fucking Fury, the second fight at least for sure was the hometown favorite. With as far as the crowd, he definitely got a louder. They were clapping and cheering louder for Fury.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
That's weird, right?
I just think, I think it's in the title, isn't it? World champion. You can't be the UK world champion where you just fight all the time in the UK, have all your comforts. You have Eddie Hearn giving backhanders out to protect you. You can't have that. You have to go. That's why Usyk is a true champion to me. That is a true world champion, a guy that goes to everyone's backyards. Let's be real, he's there to be robbed, isn't he? He's there to be robbed. He's there to have all sorts of things, and he still takes the challenge. Now, Joshua, he's been to America once, and look what happened. I mean, let's be real. He didn't even fight Ruiz in America in the rematch. He went to Dubai or wherever it was. Was it Dubai? I think it was.
Yeah.
To fight him.
Yep.
Yeah, but come on, man.
Saudi Arabia.
He should have gone. Fury got robbed in America, right? Robbed by what? And still went back to America to fight him again.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's you know where you're starting to win me over, because my thing was, look, AJ has a good resume so far. He's beaten guys like Parker, Povetkin, Dylan White, and I think I'm forgetting Klitschko. But you're right. I mean, that Tyson Fury, those two fights, when he went to America and when he went to Germany to fight Klitschko, you got to give him credit for that. Now, real quick, before we continue, shout out to OG Boogie, that's G Boogie, who says, Clarissa Shields in MMA, yeah, okay, she sparred with Christine Cyborg, but if you put a reputable opponent in which you've never been in the sport long enough, I'm sorry to say, but this Clarissa Shields is a fish out of water. Oh, she's a fish out of water. Shout out to OG Boogie for his contribution. We're going to talk about that later, about the Clarissa Shields things, but I want to iron this whole thing, this whole AJ issue out, because, okay, are we saying then that neither Fury or Joshua has that much of an advantage when it comes to claiming to be the best until they fight each other?
Yeah. I agree, BDA. No, there's no clear advantage. I'll tell you why. Because, okay, Anthony Joshua got the 3 belts from the sanctioning organizations, right?
Right.
Now Fury's got. We're just gonna give him the Lineal. He got the Lineal. Okay, we're gonna mention the ring belt. Then he's got the WBC. So they each have 3 apiece. Now, ever since Joshua garnered his titles back from Andy Ruiz, he hasn't defended it. And Tyson Fury just got the title, so they yet to have to defend their titles for the first time ever since Joshua got his titles back, and so has Fury. So they're basically making their first defense at par, each of them. And they got 3 titles apiece. The Invisible title for Fury, the ring belt, and the WBC, while Joshua got the three section organization belts. So I'm just gonna say they're about eating keel.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we all want to see both these guys fight each other. That's evident. Yeah. They have to fight each other. Gonzalo, you also mentioned Pulev's bodywork. Incidentally, David Price, who sparred Pulev, says that that's essentially what Pulev needs to do: go to the body, and that he says that he has pretty good bodywork. What does?
Yeah.
But now here's the thing, though. Can he? Like, if here's my question: if Joshua doesn't take care of this guy in impressive fashion, do we take credit away from him?
Well, I mean, I think he doesn't just speak to speak. When he says he's wanting to knock the guy out, I think it's a game plan, and he knows that Pulev goes to the body. I was just seeing some highlights of his body punching as we speak. The guy squats down like a sumo wrestler, fucking Pulev does, and he gets a lot of extension and torque with his stabbing shots through the body with that lead hand. Even with he's knocked out. He's got that Jermel Charlo against Banana Rosario type of power to the body. Remember when he knocked him out with the stabbing jab? That's what Pulev does. So, I mean, if he wants to make it into a boxing fight where it goes the distance, he could take something out of Anthony Joshua's gas tank. So I think it would behoove Joshua to try to get him out of there sooner rather than later. I think it's a strategy.
Of course, I agree.
Yeah, because
can I just address someone in the chat, please? Baboon Boxing. Right? He wants me to educate because he's obviously a Joshua fan, and he was saying Fury don't sell in the UK. That's why he fights elsewhere. Fury didn't sell in the UK, but now is a different story. Fury is as big a name as Joshua right now because of obviously the Wilder fight, and you got to remember Fury's been all over the TV. He's been at morning shows. He had a fly on the wall show with his wife. He's really built his brand over here. I agree, Fury wasn't as big as AJ, but AJ's declining because he's not doing himself any favors. For a start, Eddie Hearn's not putting the right fights in front of him for me, and some of the things he comes out with, it means you're not going to get people on side when you start being divisive with your comments. So Joshua's sort of declining, Fury's sort of gaining fan base. I've seen so many AJ fans sort of like switch. So look, if you put Fury in the UK in a big fight, he sells Wembley just like Joshua does. Joshua's a big name, yes, but don't pretend that Fury can't sell out Wembley. But if Fury had fought Wilder in Wembley Stadium, that'd have been 80,000. I guarantee you, there'd have been 80,000 there.
All right, now that brings up an interesting point here because there's the whole issue of the BBC's Personality of the Year award. Now, let me put that up here on the screen. Hold on a second. Where is that?
Fury certainly can promote, man. He certainly can promote a fight.
Now, as you can, hold on a second. That's not the list. This is the list of British cuisine. We got the black pudding, steak and kidney pudding, bubble and squeak. I'm more prone to the Cornish pasty. But anyway, that's not what I'm trying to talk about here. We're talking about, okay, here we go. Stu, first of all, I don't know if you can see, I'm sharing the screen on the Discord. Who are these people? Other than Fury, I don't know who the hell these other guys are. Or this lady in the middle.
What the fuck was jellied eels?
That's
Stuart Broad on the left, top left. Then it's Lewis Hamilton below him. Then you've got Jordan Henderson. You've got Ronnie O'Sullivan. And then Tyson Fury above him. And then I have no fucking idea who that female is.
That's what I was going to say. You're telling me all these names. I don't know. I still don't know who they are.
It's probably some hairy armpit feminist mutt complaining about something.
All right. All right. That doesn't tell me much. But anyway, yeah, listen. So this was just trying to, because I was trying to establish how big Fury is in England, but you're saying he's pretty big now after the Wilder fight.
Oh, is this finished? What's this a shortlist for? This was when was it? This was a while. Oh no, this is not the this is an old one.
Hit list, like
no, this is an old one. I know it can't be the recent one because Stuart Broad, what his name should be nowhere near that. So I think that's the old one. Well, you know when he was favourite to win it, and then he said something about homosexuals, and then they crucified him in the media, and they give him third in the end. But that's just them awards mean nothing to me. Some Marxist fucking soy boy deciding who sports personality of the year should be. Don't get out of here with them awards.
Well, this is what Fury. This is what Fury said. He said, "I'm the people's champion, and I have no need for verification or any awards." That is exactly what a God-fearing man should say. He says, "Look, I don't need validation from anyone except my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." Good for you, Tyson Fury. See, this is why a lot of people like the guy. He's a true Christian through and through. Now he
don't care about these fucking accolades, especially these media accolades. No, BBC sports person. The BBC are a toxic organisation. They just
He'd never win. He didn't come out. He didn't wear a black
spread lies and divisive shit all over the world. They are the scum of. They protect paedophiles. They're just a scum of the earth organisation. And why would a man like Tyson Fury care whether he's got their little trophy on in the cabinet? No, man, I'd fucking dash that in the bin. Doesn't mean anything.
Good for you, Stu. Stand up to the mighty BBC. With their, they say they're publicly funded.
Mate, listen, we are forced to pay for that. If we don't pay it, they bring bailiffs around our house. And I had bailiffs in my house. I opened the door one day, and they stuck their foot in the door, and they're coming through my house. Wouldn't let me leave until I paid I can't remember what it was. It was a few years ago. I had to pay like 120 quid on the spot because I refused to pay my TV license. They sent the bailiffs out on me. You don't get a choice. You don't get a choice to pay. Now, that's like Sky making you pay them. Just say you're going to pay us whether you like it or not. And we're going to send. You just, I mean, that is that's communism at its finest. Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell,
man. That's crazy. Now, you guys don't have enough free speech laws.
Anyway, look, listen, we're not going to get into the whole free speech.
I know.
I don't want to get into. No, I don't want to get into that. But we was talking about the BBC sports personality here, so I've got to mention the BBC, innit? Fucking. Right. But that's where I am with that. Look, Tyson Fury doesn't care about that award. If anything, he deserves it. I mean, I agree. I agree. Sorry, I agree. Ben Stokes should have won it last year. He deserved, but this year I think Tyson Fury deserves it. I do.
All right. Now, speaking of looking good and all that, recognize. I asked Gonzalo this question.
I always look good. Thank you. I appreciate.
No, that's not. No, that's not what it means. What I'm saying is, Joshua he did what he had to in the Ruiz rematch, right? Win, whether he looked good or not, whatever. But now does he have to look good now against Pulev, who is 39, who has been stopped before and is somewhat limited, although he can box pretty well. I mean, but what do you think? Are you gonna take points away if he doesn't look impressive against Pulev?
Well, I mean, let's see the fight, right? If he's struggling with Pulev and he's going 12 rounds and he's barely winning, yeah, there's criticism there that people would say, look, I don't think he could beat Tyson Fury, and I don't think he could beat Deontay Wilder. That's always gonna be there. If he knocks him out and he looks like the old AJ, yeah, everybody's gonna be like, man, he has a good shot to be Tyson Fury. I mean, it is. That's how boxing is. That's how boxing is.
I think with Joshua had his big night with Klitschko that just shot him to superstardom. I think, you know what I mean. He was a big name anyway, but I think that's the sort of fight. I mean, that was fight of the year. I mean, it's one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen in a long time, and that's what you needed. Where Fury was failing to deliver, weren't he? It was just a lot of people were turning off Fury with his style. It was only that Wilder performance in the second fight. That's the Fury we've been calling out for years, and he just looks a different fighter. And I think that's going to help him. Do you know what I mean? And let's be real. Like I said, he's been all over the British TV with these fly on the wall shows with his wife and morning shows. They're always interviewing him. He's becoming a bit of a darling of the nation, as they say over in the UK. So, yeah, I mean, look, Joshua's still popular, don't get me wrong. but it's even itself out. Well, all these Joshua fans just like to keep talking about popularity. They don't want to talk about the fight. They got nothing to say about the fight. They just want to keep bringing the popularity card out and Wembley Stadium and stuff. Come on, man.
Well, let me say this, man, because I'm reading the message boards here, and there's still some demand from Wilder fans for him to fight Joshua. Never mind a third fight with Fury. They're very confident that Wilder takes Joshua out. This is what one guy has to say. He says, if little fat Ruiz can destroy Joshua as he did, then Wilder would obliterate him. Maybe that's the reason Hearn Sr., and if we don't fight Wilder for the next 10 years, but Joshua keeps on winning, I'll take that. Joshua has, apart from Ruiz, been well matched, learning on the job. Joshua would only fight Wilder for 85% of the pot, blah, blah. Anyway, listen, this guy is saying that if Ruiz could take Joshua out, then Wilder's going to take him out. Are you still interested?
But that's rubbish.
Well, let's listen.
The thing is, they're two different sort of fighters. I mean, look at Wilder's inside game in mid-range. He's just dreadful. He can't even throw a hook. So look, they're just totally different styles. Joshua, he's got to be very, very careful that night. Do you know what I mean? Because if Wilder lands, then it could be curtains for him. But you got to look at it like this: if Joshua starts throwing them combinations, when he gets in the right distance and starts letting his hands go, he throws beautiful combination. Wilder's going to be fucking sleeping quick. So it's one of them who lands first for me on that fight. But I still have to go with Joshua on that one because Wilder is a mentally shot man. It's not just his fighting anymore. It's his mind's gone. This guy's gone. I don't know where he's gone, but he's not here anymore.
That's a good point. But I mean, if that fight happened next, right away, let's say something happens where Fury and Joshua can get together to make that fight, and Joshua decides to take on Wilder, I would still be pretty excited for that one because some people are saying, well, Wilder needs to get a title first. I disagree, man. I think Wilder is still dangerous with that 1-2.
I like that fight. I like it.
Yeah, because
I like the fight too, but you know what, guys? Look, it's and again, whoever wrote that, I mean, I don't want to, like I said earlier, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. So people got the right to their opinion. But AJ looks like shit. I'm going to say he looks like shit against Pulev. With regard to Wilder and Joshua, unfortunately, people get too wrapped up. They don't understand. You can't get mauled over by Fury and then want to jump Fury to fight AJ. That's not the way it fucking works. It's just not going to work like that. Business-wise, it's not going to work like that. Boxing-wise, it's just not the way it fucking... You just got mauled over. I'm not saying take a tune-up. Do whatever you want. Go do whatever you want.
That just shows you how confident they are, though, Pete. That just shows you how confident they are of him beating Tyson Fury. They don't want no part of that fight. They never have done, mate. Wilder doesn't even want any part of that fight. Wilder's talking about his other options as it is. Do you know what I mean? Look, if they could get out of that one, and they would. So that's why they're talking about Joshua, because I think Joshua stylistically is an easier fight for the Fury. I just don't think he can. That Fury we saw is only going to get better under in the Kronk. Sorry, I forgot his name now. Fucking the Manny Stewart's
Sugar Hill. Yeah, Sugar
Hill. He's only going to get better under Sugar Hill. That style suit, he's going to make even easier work of Wilder. So right, now I can see why they're calling.
Like Stu's got a point. It's just Stu. In other words, I'm really not a big Fury fan. I got to be honest with you. In the ring, I really am not. I don't care for his style. I don't foresee him beating AJ. I'm not that high on watching him fight, but he definitely deserves that fight with AJ before Wilder does. That has to be the way it is. No doubt about it.
Look, let me ask you. The thing is, though, I mean, look, no one really is going to be calling for Wilder Joshua first, and I don't even think Joshua wants that. I think Joshua's next fight, I think he's going to be looking to fight because I think he wants to fight Fury. I just don't think Eddie Hearn's very confident about it. That's where I am.
That could be. I mean, it's hard to know exactly what the fuck Eddie Hearn is trying to get at. But now I'm curious. I'm very curious about hearing your answers. All right, fellas. If Joshua Wilder happens next, let's say for some reason, whatever, how much of a chance would you give Wilder to knock out Joshua?
50-50 fight by going on Joshua's last performance. I know he won and Wilder got fucking destroyed, but Fury's a lot craftier than Joshua. Fury's a lot better at judging the distance. And Fury was charging Wilder, giving him no chance. He was like who's that dog in the back? He was rushing Wilder. And that's Wilder was having no time to react. Where Joshua's not that sort of guy. He sort of plods along, doesn't he? And he could walk on a one, and that's where I am. But I think if Joshua gets inside that mid-range distance and starts letting his hands go, Wilder's just going to be covering up, taking bombs, and it's how long he can take it for. But it's just one of them. It's who lands first with that one. I still think he stands a lot better chance with Joshua than he does with Fury, and that's just because of styles.
Yeah, I still think, man. I still think Wilder is pretty dangerous, man. With that 1-2.
Yeah, he is dangerous. Yeah,
and people talk about that, like, well, Fury put pressure on Wilder, but Joshua's not going to do that. He's not. When have you seen him chasing a guy that, like, he could have done that against Joseph Parker? He didn't. When he knocks people out, it's usually from the mid range or outside. I don't see him just putting his hands up and walking Wilder down. Although he should, right? I mean, if he stays in range,
of course. It's like Canelo Triple G2. Why stay in the edge of the other guy's wheelhouse where he can catch you with the punch, with the tip of his the range, he, that long shot. Mm-hmm. So it behooves him, and he's a smart fighter. He should come forward. And I would favor Joshua because he punches hard with both hands. Wilder has never faced a puncher that can hit hard. Well, like Ortiz, he hits hard. He's heavy-handed, but he's not fast, so he's not explosive.
The problem is
Joshua does put speed on his heavy hands, so he is powerful and explosive. And he's never faced a fighter of that caliber, and he's so smart.
That's exactly why it's hard to pick Gonzalo, because, like I said, if Joshua starts letting them hands go at the right distance, and Wilder's just not technically good enough to get out of the way of them, he's going to be fucking. The thing is, he just carries a little bit more pop, and I think he's got a bit more snap than Fury.
Ortiz wins 7. How many rounds did he go with Wilder? Many rounds. Well, okay, he knocked out Brazil when the fighter's right in front of him and he's got him lined up. I think Joshua's defensively responsible enough, or smart enough rather, to understand that I can't just be right in front of this guy's face because he can punch hard. No, he's going to be more mobile, and he is the younger man compared to Ortiz. So he's not going to provide that range because Wilder got to line you up for that shot. And let's be honest, fucking Joshua punches hard with both hands.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. That's such an intriguing fight, that is. But the problem is, it's too late now. That fight should have been made ages ago. They've both got defeats now, and bad defeats as well. This is not close points decisions we're talking about. They're devastating stoppages. So it just takes the spice off the fight for a start. And Fury, like I said, Fury's the man. Even whoever wins that fight, you still can't say they're the best guy. So what's the point right now? Let's just see who the best guy is and let Wilder have the winner. That's where I am.
Right, that's a good point, man.
That fight's going to happen. And I think it will play out like Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz, in essence, was walking Wilder down that whole fight coming forward. He just got caught at the end of that punch, and he's too far shot to withstand it. But AJ won't. I mean, believe me, he'd take an uppercut from Klitschko like that and get up.
Wilder understood that he could take Ortiz's power.
When you watch when Joshua got dropped by Klitschko did it was a world class move. Really, he sort of he threw away a short left hook and then come through straight, followed through with the big right hand. And Joshua didn't see it. He was bracing himself for the left hook, and it never came. As he opened his eyes, the big right hand come through the middle and it took his head off. And that's the thing with, he just doesn't, right hands, he just doesn't see him coming a lot of these right hands. And I don't know why. I don't know if he's got fucking one eye or has he got a glass eye or something. I don't know, but he's missing these right hands coming. And like I said, if you let Wilder land clean like he did Klitschko, I just think, he could be shaking on the ground.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's the point. Yeah, that's the point of what BDA was when he's reading that post. He got caught by Ruiz. He could get caught by Wilder. Wilder got caught by, you know what I'm saying? You could take it. One punch can do it in the heavyweight division.
Wilder understood that he could take Ortiz's power. He understood that. Now, Ortiz was being mobile, so it had to take a little while until Wilder lined Ortiz up. But Ortiz wasn't standing right in front of him. Now, the difference here is that Joshua hits harder. Does Wilder understand he can take Joshua's power? And if Joshua moves forward, man, that could be good night out ring for Wilder too.
Yeah, Wilder can fight
for. I think AJ knock him out. I
Wilder
think
fight.
Ortiz was hurting Wilder. I think he was hurting him to the body. He was beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, who was shooting some straight lefts.
think,
He was shooting straight lefts to the body, man. And I don't think
hard.
You know, we know Wilder can't fight on the inside. So if Joshua gets in the mid range, I think it's trouble for him.
Yeah.
By the way, we got
It really is.
we got Precise on the Discord. Precise, are you there?
Precise.
What's up, fella?
Ah, jeez, we can barely hear you, man. We can barely hear
What the fuck, man? Can you hear me now?
Barely, man. Yeah.
That's why I shout sometimes, because this is a jungle out here.
Every time.
Why are you guys talking about this shit fight?
Well, there's nothing much. It's what's happening on Saturday, man. It's that's why I'm asking all these That's why I'm asking all these questions about why if he fights Wilder and does he need to redeem himself, Joshua?
That's the shit fight I'm talking about. Wilder.
Yeah, you want to talk about
Wilder
up next?
Well,
look. I think we need to see Wilder back. We need to see if he can come back. If he can still knock out bums the way he was before, then he's back, basically, right? But can he still do that? I have my doubts, man, because he seems like a mentally fragile guy. He might never be the same. I'm just saying.
Agreed.
I don't know, man. I mean, I still think just that 1-2, which is very, very quick. The heavyweight division is in such a state that I think most of the lower bottom top 5, top 10 guys can't deal with that. You know
he has the tools, but it's the mental fragility. I think he's worn.
He doesn't seem like he's, with all these excuses. I think his fans, his crazy fans, think that it's a good thing he's bringing it up. It makes them feel better, but in reality, it's a sign of a guy who's breaking the fuck down. Like he got his ass beat. In his mind, he got his ass beat so bad that he's making up so many excuses just to sleep at night. That's what it sounds like when I'm hearing him talk. I'm like, is this what you tell yourself when before you go to bed? Like, is that what's going on?
You think when Deontay Wilder before he goes out on the street, whatever? Do you think he looks at himself in the mirror and he gives himself a little speech like "You're the man," and then he shoots? You know what I mean? Like with this.
He looks himself in the mirror. BDA. He looks himself in the mirror and says, "Don't forget, Tyson Fury beat you because he had metal plates in his head." This is fucking
breathing.
My question is, how much cocaine has he been snorting? What kind of drugs is he doing? You know what I mean? Like the type of shit that he's saying. Like he's not well, man. He could be indulging in crazy shit. You just never know.
Yeah, I think Hawker Mustang are saying that he's fighting mental illness. I think he could be right. I just don't think. I don't think Deontay Wilder's all the fucking ticket, to be honest with you. There's something not right with him. He's not wired up right. I mean, there's something wrong with him. And I think this defeat... because when you're a narcissist, right, the worst thing that can happen to a narcissist is when he's proved he's not the man he thinks he is. Well, it's when someone proves he's not the man he thinks he is. And it mentally affects them, scars them for life, if you get what I'm saying. And look, the way Wilder's behaved,
is somebody breaking out of prison?
The worst thing that can happen to a narcissist is two things: him getting his ass beat and somebody taking his girl.
He never progressed as a fighter. While Anthony Joshua has grown, and he's the younger guy, and his resume is kind of an illusion. And if you give him, you got to respect him as a puncher. But I wouldn't watch too much highlights of Wilder. Like when you said,
I think he's gotten worse, Gonzalo.
I didn't watch a lot of. What's that? I wouldn't watch a lot of highlights of a fighter. Because if you do, you're going to start giving him more credit than he deserves. You're going to start fearing the guy. Well, his resume is kind of an illusion like that. Respect the punching power, but understand that you're the better fighter.
But you're saying you don't know that he hasn't progressed. I think he's actually gotten worse, man, because for a moment there, it looked like he was getting better. You know what I mean?
It makes sense too, Precise, because think about it. When he was starting in his early 20s, when he first got into it, he was so focused on learning the fundamentals. Then once he became a pro and he was feasting on, bum after bum. He just got fucking power hungry. He started throwing those windmill punches. Fucking the fight's being waved off and he's still winging shots.
Yeah, but it's what Precise said is true though, because when you look at his performance against Taverne in the first fight, it's probably his best performance. I don't get the stoppage, but boxing wise and doing the right things, it's probably technically his best performance. And he got worse You know,
I
he
saw
didn't
that.
build
Yeah.
on that. He actually got worse, and he actually stopped doing even the fundamentals started going out the window. It's where he was just looking for the big shot, and everything else went out the window. He's forgetting about his balance. He was forgetting about where he had his fucking chin. Do you know what I mean? It was just a mess. Do you know what I mean? It got worse.
They were just giving them guys that were walking in on him with their hands down.
Yeah.
Maybe it took 7 rounds. Maybe they did it in the first round, but he just got used to target practice, basically teeing off with these guys.
The
And
curse
then
of the puncher,
Fury
right?
showed him a little bit of head movement and a jab and all this other shit, and he just couldn't hang.
It's not even just fucking boxing. It's right across all sports. Hockey, once you get a kid who starts scoring a lot of goals, and that's all he looks for is the goals, he starts fucking up every other part. His passing, everything else starts to suffer. I've seen him a bunch of times in that. So it happens. You focus on one thing, and, you know, other things fail.
Let Gonzalo say something. Gonzalo wants to say something. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Gonzalo. Go ahead.
The curse of the puncher. The curse of the puncher. That's why I respect fighters like Manny Pacquiao and Kovalev. There's a few others out there that can punch, but they decided to perfect their craft. Now you got more tools in your tool bag. I can punch, but I can also box. I can box you, and then decide to punch. You can just do a whole lot of things differently. That's why I respect fighters like that.
Yeah,
and that's what Wanda never did. He never learned how to box.
And a guy like Marcus Maidana.
I can barely hear Gonzalo. Is it just me, or is it
okay, guys?
else?
Let me just say something about that. If you have a hard time hearing somebody, what you can do is click on their icon, and there's a volume feature there where you can raise their volume here on the Discord. Otherwise, I can't do it.
Okay. The thing about
it's better to be good at 9 things. I'll say 10 things than be a master at one, if you got what I'm saying, in boxing. It's like being a master at one certain thing, but that's not going to get you through in the big fights. You've got to have a bit more about you. You've got to have the basic boxing skills. Is not a lot to ask from Deontay Wilder, is it? And we weren't even getting that. But this is the problem. When you don't have the fundamental skills, right, that's when in the latter rounds it starts to tell, when you start to lose your shape and stuff, you know, and that's when you start getting
the blueprint is out there too to beat Wilder too. Now it's, you know, back him up, but you got to hit him.
Yeah.
Back him up, keep him backed up, and if he comes in, you know what I'm saying. You kind of like, if you're a big dude, you know, kind of grab him a little bit. I'm not saying you got to lean on him like this guy did, but just grab him up, and once you get off that clinch, you know he's gonna jump for the 1-2. Step back a little bit and just.
But you know it's fucked up, guys. But recognize guys who want. It's not second nature. Don't even clinch. How many times you've seen guys, limited skill guys, not clinch? Like, Jesus, what? That's why I say, like, no other sport do you need to start young, like boxing. The reason why it has to be second nature, what other sport are you actually engaged in while you're out on your feet? You know how many times these guys are fucking, like, really rocked? I mean, to the point where they're, like, they're seeing what they're looking at, the dude's kind of just, I mean, they're completely working off of, it's muscle memory. It has to be second nature. It has to be punched into you. You know what I mean? You have to. Yeah. So these guys coming in their 20s. This is what happens. They get a little adversity. Something happens. They just don't know what to do.
A lot of the great fighters.
You can be blessed.
A lot of the great fighters don't clinch, but you notice when they get hit, and you're getting too close, they'll. It's like that instinct will come in and they'll clinch.
See, the problem with Wilder because he's technically terrible. That's why his tank emptying too quick. Because when you're not technically sound, you're wasting energy by throwing these punches that are not technically right. I mean, windmilling them from all sorts of angles and not landing. When you're not landing, you're taking a lot out of you. You know, if you're going to be loading up on the punches, they've got to be hitting something. Too. And this is the problem with Wilder. Every time Wilder's in a fight, in a fight that has got a decent pace. By the 7th round, he's going to be blowing like he did against Fury, and he's going to be there for the taking because technically he will lose shape, and then he starts to panic when things don't go his way. You've seen it. He starts to panic, loses shape, he gets wild, and that's when he's there for the taking.
It takes twice as much energy to throw and miss than it does to throw and.
Of course, it does.
Yeah,
and that's what. That's why you've got to be technically sound and crisp with your punches. You know, you can't just be swinging windmills because your tank's good, especially at heavyweight. You know, you've got to make your punches. You know, they got to. They've got to score, obviously, but they've got to mean. You've got to mean something. You've got to be hitting something.
Have more
Even if it hits an arm.
punches.
Hold on, let Gonzalo go because he wanted to say something. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
You can be blessed with great punching power, better than anybody anywhere, and that could be your downfall. It's the same could be said about speed. Look at Amir Khan, Gamboa. They were best with great hand speed. But then you understood that they abused their speed, but they were looking spectacular because they were beating fighters to the punch landing combinations. But when it came down to somebody actually knowing how to combat that speed with boxing skills, they were kind of exposed. The same thing, having a great.
You just described Anthony Joshua, bro. Gonzalo, you just described Anthony Joshua perfectly.
Maybe I don't know.
His punch technique is far better than Khan's, but I've always not always, but lately I've been thinking of him like he's a lot like Amir Khan when he rattles up these combinations and they're pretty and they're nice, but it's just like robotic shit that he learned in the gym. He's like, he steps to you with the jab, and then in his head he's like, okay, I'm gonna throw a 3-2, 2 and then 1, and he just goes and does it. No matter what you do, he'll just gonna throw that. He's pre-programmed. Yeah. He doesn't.
It becomes predictable.
It's like Amir Khan. It was exactly like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where it's drilled. It's drilled punches sort of thing instead of punching for the moment. You see your opening, you pick your punches. You don't just think, well, this is what I did in the gym, so I'm going to do 3, 2. No, yeah, I get what you're saying, but look, this is why Anthony Joshua is really he's a good fighter, but he's not a natural fighter. If you get what I'm saying, it's all been taught to him, and that's why he's learning on the job.
The reason why the reason why I believe Manny Pacquiao has been so successful this long, right? It's because he's always like inventing new ways to throw punches. I mean, there's not many ways, but you can disguise a punch in many different ways. And if you look at Pacquiao, maybe he's the extreme version of it. But a lot of these guys, what happens is they become very predictable in how they're going to attack you. Okay, and of course, there's only so many ways you could throw a punch, but they do it in the same rhythm and the same technique, the same attack mode, and they get found out, and that's what happens to guys like Anthony Joshua, especially Deontay Wilder. I mean, the guy has no other way to attack you with his punches, and you can get past his 1-2, right, Jimmy? You get past his 1-2. Pretty much, you figured him out.
That's it. That's how you
not just do that. He telegraphs the right hands so much that world-class fighters are going to see them coming, and that's Wilder's problem. I mean, like I said, it's always saying he's been found out by Fury, but there's not many heavyweights that can fight like Fury, so that gives Wilder a chance in most of the other fights, if you get what I'm saying. But it's still, it's going to give a lot of these guys confidence when they see what Wilder's doing. I mean, Dominic Brazil, I mean, he strolled forward with his chin in the air, waiting to get knocked out. Ortiz saw the shot coming, just too old and too slow to get out of the way of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's, let's be real. Fury was avoiding his shots all night. That was fatigue and cockiness and bad corner work that got him put down in the 12th in the first fight for me.
He just dropped his hands right in front of him and stuck his face.
Exactly.
It was dumb. That's all he had to do. See, look, for me, the blueprint to beat Wilder is just don't come in straight lines. And that's it. And attack him. It's that simple. It really is that simple.
You're saying just all you got to do is just keep him off balance all night.
He got no left.
You charge him when the right moment. You wait for the right moment, then charge him. And once you're inside, nothing's coming back.
See, with all these ideas and all these, we're all observing Wilder right now. You guys are just like basically explaining. If you were in Wilder's camp, you could explain to Wilder not the blueprint on how to beat you, but hey, look, we got to work on this. We got to work on this. He won't take instruction. A guy like this just will not.
He did against
Stavern's going to stand there. Yeah, you mentioned Stavern. Stavern's going to stand there. He is going to shell up in a high guard and stand there stationary and let you fucking tee off on him. That's why it's his best fight, because Stavern didn't go out like a fucking on a shield. He wasn't going to go out punching like Spilka was.
I get that.
The guys that do catch him coming in chin high, winging shots. So
but my point was, Pete. Yeah, but my point was technically it was his best fight, not his best performance, but technically he looked like he'd improved that night. All right, he didn't get the stoppage, but he was doing the right things, at least trying anyway.
It was like a multifaceted game plan, because for the most part it's just like, I'm just gonna wait and land the big right hand. That's how he fights. But in that fight he was like, okay, I'm gonna move. When he comes at me, I'm gonna pivot and throw the hook. I'm gonna pop the jab all night. I'm gonna drop the right hand here and there. I'm gonna move my head. Like it was, he was doing all these different things. So he's shown that he can. He just he's lazy.
I think he's just power hungry, star,
He got lazy, like you said, lazy and power hungry. This is the thing with punches. They think all they got to do is land on the button, and it's night, and it just don't. When you get to the top of boxing, mate, these guys are just not going to fall over. You know what I mean? So he got too power.
A guy like Golovkin. Go and
look at the what round was it? It was probably the third or the fourth round where Deontay Wilder had a fear in his eyes, and that was because he knew he was going to get hurt in that fight and he wasn't going to win it because he couldn't land the big shot he did. And when he did land, nothing was happening, and it sort of like disheartened him. And that's when you saw the fear in his eyes. I mean, he looked like fucking saw a ghost, but that's when you knew the fight was over.
I think that's true, man. Because if you look back to if you go back to what Wilder was saying before the rematch, he was talking about, I'm going to knock Big Mama out, Big Mama this, Big Mama that. Big Mama spread her ass cheeks and took a shit on his face. And I think that's why he's, like you guys were saying, he's traumatized because he really did believe he was just going to finish what he had started in the 12th round of the last fight, which was lay this guy out cold. And when it didn't happen, I think it's like, because even he knows his ace in the game is the power. And when he saw that wasn't working, he was like, shit, what else do I have? He didn't have anything else back in. So now he's thinking, am I as good as I think I am, or is it just the power? And I think that's essentially what traumatized him. But also, I kind of agree with Pete, man. I don't think he takes instructions very well. Because at this point,
Breland fucking tells him to clinch. Come on, man.
Exactly. He tells him everything.
Been told, when you get rocked, when you start dancing, when you start doing your dance, like twerking in the ring, when Spilka catches your ass and you start, I don't know what kind of popping and locking, whatever you're doing, he's been instructed to clinch. He's been instructed to tone it down. He's been instructed to, hey, you during this interview, say this, conduct yourself like this. Let's try that. Come on, man. Listen, it is what it is. You got a certain set of skill. You got a certain, you got tools that are good. He's got punching power. He got a right hand. But the difference is, though, two things. He will not accept instruction, and he will not take a mistake or a setback and learn from it. Like, again, I'm not hyping the guy, but when you see AJ after that first Ruiz fight, even the statement that he made the following day was, you could tell this guy's mentally going to move on. And so is Wilder. Wilder's going to move on too.
Yeah,
they're both going. They're both getting past this.
Joshua nipped
but you see the difference.
Joshua nipped it in the bud quick, didn't he? He nipped in the bud.
They both did. They both. You have to move on as a fighter to the next fight. You have to put this behind you. But you see, AJ's doing it in a way that, although boring in this second fight, shows that he's looking at his mistake and improving on it. Wilder's just saying, Breland spiked my fucking water. Fury had an egg weight in his hand. They threw in the towel early. All this bullshit. He's bullshitting himself. That's what I'm saying. He's bullshitting himself.
There's no mental stability there, bro. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. He's bullshitting himself, and the people around him, pretty soon, they're going to stop trying to coach you. They're going to stop trying to teach you.
That's why I'm saying no big fights for Deontay. He needs to come back and needs to show that he's back. Like he's irrelevant right now. Let's not even forget Wilder. He's completely and utterly irrelevant. But
it'd be stupid to put him in there with a top guy right now because, like I said, mentally he's gone.
And the other guy's not going to get any credit. If someone just whoops him right now, he's not going to get any credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was saying before you got on precise, was that it's just not. They're talking about that fight now. It's just not appropriate. I mean, I don't know how to say it. That's a kind of a faggy way of saying it, but that's just not how it works. You just, but again, you can you imagine explaining that to him? Can you fucking
But that's what
imagine
I'm saying. Hey, look, his mistakes are the ones that he boasts about. That's how bad his disease is. He calls himself the hardest puncher in history. When you believe that, then you're not going to try to change anything, and your team is convinced about it. So you're talking up this big game for the world to understand that this is who you are. But that alone is not always going to have the solution for you. Punching people, and knocking people out.
He might have the hardest punch in heavyweight history, but you know what? When he throws it with his chin up in the fucking air and somebody punches with you, we've seen him almost get clipped.
But that's what I'm saying.
On his way to knocking somebody out numerous fucking
you can't
times.
say that. And you can, just because he says that, I'm not that gullible. If the whole world, I mean, many boxing fans or fans don't really know what they're looking at. So I mean, he's got a lot of fans that are not actual like boxing fans. So he's trying to sell you this
ideologues.
See, the problem for Wilder to get power, he has to throw it on the front foot, and when he's doing that, he's telegraphing it, and it's you know what's coming. That's his problem. He's not surprising anyone with it anymore. And on the back foot, he just doesn't get the balance and doesn't seem to set his feet properly enough to get the power he needs. I mean.
And it's not going to be an easy thing because he's not like Canelo, a short guy that can throw a nice punch. He's long and gangly. For him to line up that shot, it cost him more than what it would a regular guy, a regular person. I understand that.
Any B-level fighter that just fights appropriately, has a game plan, and is not scared, will school Deontay Wilder. Any B-level fighter.
We've almost watched. How many replays have we? How many clips have we watched together where he's on the way to knocking somebody out? I can't remember who it was. They were in the corner. The camera was behind.
Fury Wilder was like the easiest prediction to make ever. One of the easiest ever. I'm sorry, like the first and the second. It was like a sound technical guy versus a guy who can't box, basically. As long as the technical guy ain't scared of the power and is not making stupid mistakes, Wilder don't set you up. He's not sneaky with this shit. You know exactly what he's doing. So as long as you just plan for that, Usyk would take him to absolute school. It would look scary for Usyk, like in the Chisora fight, where people were like, "Oh my God, he's hitting him! How is he taking these punches?" Usyk wasn't taking shit from Chisora. Like, these punches were whizzing by him. They were hitting his gloves. If he gets in the ring with Wilder, any version of Wilder in history, versus any version of Usyk as a pro, and it's literally that easy fight. Deontay Wilder has to land the perfect money shot right on the jaw. That's it. That's all he has.
I totally
agree.
If
you don't just give it to him, literally give it to him, and Fury showed you in that first fight, you have to give it to him to have a chance of losing. If you don't give it to him, it's an easy fight.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And you know, you do have to chalk it up to it is it is boxing. So like, you know, in other words, there will be times where it's like, you know, he was saying how Stu was saying how AJ doesn't see these right hands coming. Sometimes it's like sometimes you can get caught, but the point of the matter is though that a guy like Usyk is going to study Deontay Wilder. He's going to take instruction. They're going to get a game plan together, and they're going to fight a smart fight and win. Deontay Wilder, listen, I'm not very high on him at all as a heavyweight, but like, I think he's going to come back and be the same exact wild ass windmilling 1-2 Deontay Wilder that he was before he got knocked the fuck out. Now the next big fight, big fight, a Fury and AJ. I would agree with you that he probably will harbor some kind of a feeling about that, some kind of
he's gonna go down the Bridgerweight. He's gonna Pete. He's gonna go down the Bridgerweight and dominate. He's gonna be like the unified, undisputed Bridgerweight champion.
If you're under 225, can you fight for the heavyweight title now, or you have to fight for the Bridger?
He'll fight a cruiserweight the same way he fights at heavyweight, though. Is my point. He's just the guy is.
Yeah. No, he's not doing anything spectacular anymore. It's just going to be the same old Wilder.
Same old Wilder. There's no mentally breaking somebody that simple, you know.
Well, Gonzalo brought up Pacquiao earlier. It's a perfect example. After he got starched in the third round there when or the fourth round, when he got knocked out cold. People said around him that the reason why he didn't seem too affected by it because his attitude was, "This is boxing. It happens. It was bound to happen." You know what I mean? Because he's mentally tough. When you get a guy, he just isn't mentally tough. He just isn't, and it shows.
Yeah, I think with Joshua. Sorry, I'm yawning. I think with Joshua, I think he actually prepared himself for defeat. I always felt like he mentally prepared himself for defeat, and then when it came, it was like another day at the office for him, sort of thing. It was quite bizarre watching it, really, wasn't it? How well he did take it. I mean, I started to question his hunger, but I think he'd already prepared himself for defeat, and I'm not saying that's the best way to go about business, but it definitely helps when the defeat comes.
You're saying AJ?
Yeah, I mean some of the things he used to say and stuff. And yeah, he used to say he's going to get beat eventually and stuff, and he's preparing himself for it. And I think that's why he dealt with it early. Where Wilder, there's not a living being in this universe that could beat Wilder, according to him. And that's why when he got his ass whooped and embarrassed on Black History Month as well, it was a hard pill for him to swallow.
You see, he associates with nothing but sycophants. He surrounds himself with yes men and fucking grown-ass men who'll make videos about him based on lies and feelings. I mean, it's crazy. You've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. I think Fury should say that. I think the way Fury took that draw after being robbed, I mean, he took that quite well, didn't he? I mean, I think Fury's another one. I think if he got beat, I think it wouldn't really affect him too much because he's always said it's a fighting. Fighting is a man sport, and if you don't get beat, you're not fighting the right guys. They say, do you know what I mean? So,
you know what Fury did, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I think Fury was banking on the rematch. They had a rematch clause, and he said, "I'm going to make this fight. I'm going to have to make this fight interesting and make it look like he can win." He literally gave him free shots. That's literally what happened.
Now, right? You say that now. I think you're right, mate. Do you know why? Because anyone that knows boxing knows that game plan that Fury came out with in the first was the wrong game plan. I told you what the game plan was, and he did it in the second. It worked. It was like he was carrying. It was like he was carrying the fight. I get what you're saying, but then he got cocky and fucking next minute.
But when he was really hurt, I think it was the 11th or whatever round. He stepped on the gas and hurt Wilder, right? Because he knew what to do in that fight, and then he let him off the hook. He knew how to beat Wilder.
I tell you what, mate, you might have a point now. I'm not saying so. All you crybabies in the chat, I'm not saying this 100%, but Precise got a point.
But look how much money they made in the rematch. Like, why would it? He had a rematch clause. Wilder had a rematch clause. Make it close enough, controversial, whatever.
Yeah, like, put it like this.
Don't knock him out. Don't knock him out, basically.
Put it like this, right? If Fury had gone and done in the first fight what he did in the second, would we have got a rematch?
No way.
Would people have called for it? We probably would have got it, but would people have even called for it? Because no one's calling for a third fight, really. Only Wilder fan girls. But let's be real, no one is calling for a third fight. Let's be so one-sided. And that's what Fury could have done in the first. I mean, even though he was out of shape, all right, wouldn't have done it in as good fashion, but Fury's a smart man. He knows how to beat Wilder. It don't surprise me what Precise is saying, man. Because he'd signed a 2-fight deal. You got to make it look half interesting to get people to buy the second, didn't you?
Or Fury definitely. Fury definitely. I mean, sorry, I would say Wilder definitely wants the third fight. He filed papers this week in court. His team suing Top Rank and Fury.
Yeah. So man.
That third fight.
This is the thing with boxing, mate. You just don't. It's such a corrupt sport. Nothing surprises me in this sport, and
he'll get thrown out. Yeah, he'll get thrown out because they let him
expire. I don't think Tyson Fury signed up to take that shot. He fucking them 2 shots he took. I don't think he signed up for that. But I get what Precise is saying, where he's probably thinking, let's make this interesting. I got 2 fights here, and he got complacent. Took his hands down, got cocky, and the next week was fucking. Well,
the rest. His head never hit the canvas. Watch that. Like, his head never hit the canvas. He just kind of lied down, rested. He was good, man. I'm not saying he took those shots on purpose, but he was moving his head in front of him, so he knew he was gonna take something.
Listen,
but because he was moving, it was gonna take the brunt of those shots.
Yeah, he
Why
was
would you
watching
do
the
that?
referee. He had his eyes on the referee's count as well all the time. If you watch it again, he was watching the referee count, and as soon as the referee said 8, he got up. So tells me I don't think he was hurt as people say he was, because there's no way he could have come back into that fight. This is not WWE, you know, when fucking the Ultimate Warrior was on the end of a pace, and then he'd just come back and start fucking going nuts and listen, you know, it just doesn't work like that. I think he was a lot stronger on his feet and not than a lot of people think, and I don't think he was as hurt as people think. But obviously, because it looked devastating on the TV, I mean, that's why people are saying that. But I agree. I mean, there's no if you get knocked unconscious, right? There's no way you can come back and fight like that. There's just no way.
Yeah, you don't those guys who have like kind of instinctive stuff, like I touched on earlier, like a Toro Gotti. Because I asked him, and I was just saying, was that just hyperbole? And he was straight up. He's like, "No, dude, he had no physical memory. I mean, right after the fight, no physical memory of the 9th and 10th round of their first fight. None."
Yeah, but the thing is, though, the difference is, Gatti wasn't splattered all over the canvas, though, was he? That's the thing. I mean, Gatti was getting hit with big shots, but he was still there trading himself. Fury got sparked.
Yeah, well, that's why. Well, Gotti just got he had a heroic chin, back when he was still not partying up too much, but he was out on his feet. Like you said, he was like when he went back to the corner, he didn't remember. That's after he doesn't remember anything after that. He was just fighting completely.
But my point is, Jimmy, because Gatti was standing there trading still. To the eye of the boxing fans, it didn't look like he was
spot. Yeah, his brain wasn't shut off in the
exactly because it didn't look like that because he's still fighting back. People are not thinking, but because Fury was it was dramatic, weren't it? The knockdown. People are thinking, oh, he's out cold, but he weren't. There's no way you can.
He looked like the Undertaker.
There's no way you can sit there, watch the count, get up on 8. I mean, how convenient he got up on 8, even though he was unconscious. I mean, he got up at 8, right? He did a little walk for the ref, put his hands up, and then continued to steamroll Deontay Wilder. I mean, that is not a man that's unconscious.
Did you get the feeling
like
that
Michael Myers?
He wasn't really hurt. He was more like upset with himself.
Exhausted.
Yeah,
yes.
Like he was upset with himself.
I can go with that.
Yes. Yeah. I was just going to say that the camera shot being right overhead. That overhead camera that was looking down on him when he had his eyes closed. I took that fight as that knockdown as it's in the 12th round. To fight 12 rounds in the style that Tyson Fury fights, that erratic, he's doing a hell of a lot more work than most guys are doing that are just in an orthodox, a normal heavyweight. This guy's moving a lot. He took that knockdown in the 12th and like recognized his saying, I've been like blindsided in football, a few times, real good times, but like a couple times I got caught. And you do just lay there for a minute, like fuck, I mean, you're not
really hurt that bad, right?
You're just like, God damn it, man. You're gonna take your count, but Jimmy's right. The overhead shot did look like he was fucking rising up out of a casket. And to what Precise was saying, he did have Wilder stunned and hurt at the end of that same round. So that was as close as a fight could be back and forth. That first fight.
He just finished off.
Listen.
The second fight, he just started where he.
Stu's always saying is his trainer. Stu's always, Stu's mentioned it more than a few times, how disgusted he was with his trainer in that fight. He did switch trainers. It does show you that the man will accept. I'm sure. I know it wasn't there, but you got to imagine that Sugar Hill said, "Look, this is what I see. This is what I see is going on in the first fight. This is what I see is going on with your style. Let's do this." And Fury understood it, took the instruction, and went out there and executed. That's the difference. So,
if anything that I noticed more was that he was doing the 1-2. I'm talking about Tyson Fury, but he had like a little stutter step to it, So it wasn't like something that Wilder could pick up on. And that was I think that was the big key. And like Precise was saying earlier, like just give this man different angles. Don't stand in front of him. And you make him have to think, which seems to be his problem, right? Is thinking in the ring.
To hit a moving target, it's kind of hard to hit it with power. It's like if you hit the double end bag. if you hit the double M bag and you tap it and you're just hitting it, yeah, you can hit it all day. But if you want to crack the double M bag and to keep cracking it, it's going to move faster and it's going to be hard for you to hit it really hard and hit it again. Because to hit a moving target is not the same. And Wilder, when he commits to his punches and let's say he misses, by the time he draws back that long arm, for one, if he misses, he's going to get tired more. Because like Jimmy said, you commit to a punch, you're going to get twice as exhausted. The other, to draw that long-ass arm back, that's another. And because he could also get countered. So, I mean, that's why he performed very well in the first fight against the Canadian guy. Because he boxed. He couldn't get him out of there. He knocked him down, but he decided to box.
But most fighters will have a right hand and the hook. They'll have uppercuts, good jab, all that other stuff, right? So if you're walking away from their right hand, they use the left hook to set you up for the right hand. If you're ducking down, they use the uppercut to pick you up. With Wilder, it's just the right hand. Yeah, I know he throws other punches, but they're not very effective. So just walk through those punches and away from the right hand, come step to him at the same time and throw your own punches. And that's it. That's how you beat him. That's like, I don't mean to make it sound so simple, but like as long as you're not scared and you don't freeze up, it's easy.
Tyson Fury made it seem...
Precise is right. You gotta hear that. You gotta hear what Precise just said, and be the fighter that has the physical ability to do it, and not be scared to do it. That's the thing that Wilder hasn't seen until Fury. That's
now that
point.
there's a blueprint, and top of that, Tyson Fury, he fought very well, but he didn't do anything like that was so unbelievable in terms of technique. He just, he boxed, and he took it to Wilder. Now that that's out there, people will pick up on that. They'll pick up on just stay away from his right hand, stay away from the right hand. That's why it's up to Wilder to, and I don't think he could do it at this point. Maybe anything's possible, but I think
also
Wilder
recognize
needs to start adding more to his repertoire.
No way.
Recognize he tried to use the baddest man in the planet angle to instill fear in his opponents, but this is not Mike Tyson, right? So, I mean, why did he do that so much? Because obviously he knows that he's going to try to play that card because maybe he's not so developed in other areas. But that card's been pulled in a way.
That's a good point, man. That's a good
point. We've watched him throw that right hand over and over and over. I mean, every fight, it's like he's got a fucking hatchet. It's like he's in a horror movie with a hatchet in his hand. Like, there's no setup. Precise is right. There's no jab. There's no hook.
He became overconfident, man. He became overconfident. He was relying on the right hand way too much, but I still think that 1-2, if he's willing to let it go, because if he's traumatized, he won't let it go anymore. He's gonna be, it's gonna be a problem. Go ahead, Reynes.
I wouldn't recommend to get caught by it. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bad description right there, man. Listen, fellas, we're gonna call it a day for today. I want to do a show, because the year is winding down.
Hey, fuck that.
Hey, no, look, the year is starting to wind down. We still have Canelo versus Smith coming up. Unfortunately, it just came out that Donaire versus Rodriguez has been postponed because Donaire he turned out positive for the what do you call it? FAUX, FAUX, and so that's not going to happen. But anyway, we still got
coronavirus. You mean the thing that everybody pretty much has in their system already?
Woohoo flu or whatever, whatever the fucking place is.
So what I'm saying is,
these are athletes, dude. 3 days later, they're fine. Fuck.
Yeah, but they don't give a fuck, man.
Sniffles.
They got like a fucking 0% chance of dying, especially athletes. It's just crazy.
It's such a joke. It's such a joke, man. You got the cold. The fight is off. and no one can attend because God, what a
Precise. I watch football, right? And there's a football player that I like. His name is Lamar Jackson, right? He's a quarterback. He had it, and so the following week came and he played, and they were speaking to him on one of these networks, one of these NFL networks, and they were like, "How was the COVID?" He's like, "I didn't really know I had it." He's like, I didn't feel no symptoms. I just got tested like I always do, and they said I had it.
Because the test doesn't mean anything.
False positives too, you know.
Yeah, the test doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you have it. It just means for somehow they detected that you have something there that might indicate. I don't even want to talk about this. But you know what? I do want to talk about.
You can be asymptomatic. You can be asymptomatic.
Do you know what? You should have seen the British media. You should have seen the British media, man. These fucking reporters. Oh, it's a great day. I feel like crying in tears, like watching the first person get their vaccine. It's so cringe. I'm like, for fuck's sake, man.
Hey, by the way, we should talk about that.
It was so forced. No, but it was forced. It was just cringe at the highest. I mean, the British media, it just doesn't get any lower than that.
No, he really doesn't.
Donaire Rodriguez, who's the A side?
Should be Donaire.
Who do the powers that be want to win?
Donaire.
No, probably Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is the future, bro.
Yeah, Rodriguez.
Donaire's old. He's on his way out.
I don't know, but
He doesn't look old. We're scrapping the Clarice Shields talk till next time.
Yeah, next time.
I can't wait. All I'm saying, my only point is that so far it seems that the B-sides are getting the COVIDs. The guys that are inconvenient and maybe a little difficult, they're the ones getting the COVID. And when the A side gets the COVID, then it might actually happen. You know what fight it might actually happen? Garcia Campbell. In that fight, the A side might get COVID. I'm not saying they will, but if the A side ever gets it, it's going to be in that fight.
Oh, the B side already got COVID.
Campbell did get COVID. That's why the fight.
Right. Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's already been reset. That was my question. On that
already happened.
That's been reset now until the 5th.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that fight got put back for COVID. He already had Campbell as well.
Oh,
yeah, the week
look. There you go.
Nakatani Verdev will probably be a good fight because those guys got something on the line.
Yeah, Garcia is probably going to catch something else one of these days, if you know what I mean. But we also got Ioka versus what's his name again? At the end of these shows, I can't remember the names anymore.
Shakur Stevenson.
No, forget. Shakur Stevenson.
Your favorite fighter.
No, I'm talking about.
Can I just say? Oh, BD, I just want to say one other thing. You know what? If it wasn't for this show, I'll be totally honest with you, dude. I am so just disgusted with the state of boxing and how these guys are handling themselves. If it wasn't for this show, I probably would have already walked away again, dude, and not even following it. Because of what Terrence Crawford and the fact that he is calling out a 42-year-old fucking Manny Pacquiao and thinks that's on par with it's just. And then it's not even that, dude. It's not even that. It's just you get on Twitter and you have half the fucking people cheering that the fight doesn't happen. Why should he fight him? Who's Crawford ever fought? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you managing this dude? Is he paying your rent? Shut the fuck up. Who cares? Absolutely. I want to see the best fight the best. But anyways, I'm just saying, if it wasn't for the show, dude, I think I'd be really done.
Me as well, man. Me as well.
Same here.
Listen, I don't go watch boxing other boxing channels like I used to. I catch fights.
I don't even watch YouTube anymore, to be honest.
Mate, I used to be a guy that used to stay up and watch live fights 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning all the time. Now I'm going to bed. I'm going out, then coming home, going to bed, watching the highlights in the morning if I can be bothered. Do you know what I mean?
I didn't watch any fights in like a year prior to getting kind of back into a whole year.
You went right off the sport, didn't you?
You all sound like Kevin now.
Did you feel like refreshed?
Yeah, I got a lot of shit done. I felt good. I wasn't like stressing out about like the bullshit that doesn't matter and all that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right. You worried about the important things.
That's why I had a break from it. You know, I go through periods where I have a couple of months breaks here and there. It's good to recharge the batteries and just enjoy what life's really about. You know, boxing's not really important, is it? You know, there's more to life than boxing, and it's a very toxic community as well. There's a lot of negative energy and fucking crybabies around all the time. You just get sick to death of them, and you need a break from them. You do, and like boxing, like I said, boxing's in a bit of a bad place. There's nothing really to get up for. So why am I going to put my life on hold for some fucking mismatch. Come on, man.
I got some. Terrence Crum, I mean, Spence would be getting, if this was the 1980s, well, it's so different. Back then, it was so many great fighters. Like, he would get crucified. There was none of that marinated shit. He would just get absolutely crucified.
It's just good for the mental state to have a break from the boxing community because they can fucking, they just drain the life out of you. And boxing
they probably would have fought twice, bro. They probably would have fought twice.
There's too many ideologues.
I'm going to say, Jimmy.
Sorry.
Precise that again.
No, I was just going to say, Jimmy, like, Spence, if this was the 80s, Spence and Crawford would probably be talking about a rubber match right now, basically.
Right. You're right. 100%.
You wouldn't hear half this shit. They didn't have this kind of social media bullshit.
Look at Eddie Hearn. I mean, look, Heyman signs a $500 million contract with puts shit on. Eddie Hearn signs a big deal with DAZN, putting pure shit on. I mean, look, even when the money's there there's just too many corrupt, greedy people involved with boxing. Eddie Hearn talks about how he loves boxing. Now how he's all about the love of the sport. Now he's fucking.
It's the fighters too. In theory, the best fighting the best are supposed to be the best fights, but they're not because there's a lot at risk where you would just rather be more strategic and try to win it by a little instead of risking getting knocked out. Because if you don't get knocked out, you fight to get another payday, and if you edge it out, you're the big superstar. Yeah,
but this is why boxing sucks, man. This is what I mean, Gonzalo. Your love for this sport, man. I give it to you because you're a better man than me. I could never show the dedication you do. Watch the fights you do. Look,
I don't watch all the fights.
Listen, I've just lost love for this sport. Chelsea can't say, "Oh, we're not playing Man City," because that's a dangerous game for us. So we're not going to play them. We'll play Brighton and Hove Albion instead.
That's why in many aspects, Stu, I don't agree with boxing is the most bravest sport. Like, not really. Go look at team sports. They have to play the best. You're going to lose. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. He's got L's in his biggest games ever. But he's still the greatest quarterback, So,
but this is the problem. The boxers, it's all about the protecting the fighters and keeping the O's, and you're not getting the fight. How do most divisions we look down and we put BoxRec on now? We couldn't even tell you who the best guys in most of those divisions are, so we don't know. They're all spread it out amongst 5 champions in some divisions. Come on, man.
We have too many prospect champions.
One second, quickly. My point is, only boxing can you get people like Terence Crawford and Errol Spence that just can avoid each other and then still claim to be the best. It just don't happen. Any other sport, like I said, Chelsea can't decide who they play in the Champions League. They get told and they have to play it. Simple as that. And that's what sport should be. There has to be an organised, like there has to be a board who decide the fights, and the venues and certain things. Like FIFA,
like Dana White.
Like the NFL do. Like the NFL.
Like Dana White does with MMA.
Yeah. There has to be someone that... Look, you're not going to get one promoter calling the shots. That's not going to happen. But you have to get a board that decides what fights happen and where they happen or whatever. And then it's up to the promoters to arrange the money. But either way, they're going to have to get it done. Because if they can't get a fight made, they should be punished. Because let's be real, they're like ducking out of fights for the sake of a couple of $100,000 when it's millions on the table, and the legacy. Some of these fighters that don't want to fight for legacy wants to care about a couple of $100,000 here and there.
Hey, you guys! Everybody wants to have a good night, everybody. I'm gonna go, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say. With that being said, we do have to go, guys. We'll
All right, BDA, you have a good night. Everybody, be safe.
You too, fellas. You too.
Have a good sleep, everybody.
When's your next show, brother?
The next show, I'm saving something for Friday. Hopefully, I'll do an open phone lines Friday for everybody out there, and try to.
Tell Bucho we gotta do a fucking second Renaissance.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Friday, I'm probably gonna do a open phone lines of BDA Boxing, and then we'll do a second Renaissance, like half and half, because it's been a while since we've been talking about doing this. Also,
is Bucho in rehab, BDA?
No, he's not in rehab. No, he's not in rehab.
Oh, he was here earlier. That's right.
He's in rehab.
He was here earlier. I forgot. Yeah.
Anyway, listen, fellas, I gotta run.
Bro, at rehab.
we got to run, but thanks to everybody who joined us, man. I'm talking about Jay, Stu, Pete, Recognize the Matrix, Precise, Jimmy, and Gonzalo, and Bucho too, the aforementioned Bucho. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And shout out to everybody who contributed via the super chat, everybody who called in as well. And people who donate with the super chat, I'm talking about Michael Poe, Kenshiro, G Boogie. Thank you guys for your contributions. Really appreciate it. And everybody in the chat room who joined us, T-Tone Toledo, shout out to T-Tone, Vince Vegas, Hawker Mustang, Jonathan Morrison, Triple JJJ, shout out to Triple JJ, Kev O, Kevin from Chicago, Vanessa Manzanero, Vince Vegas. Who else was here as well? Overhand. The Quags was here as well, I think. White Devil, Hawker Mustang, Norman Luis, Saint Brit, Tony Yayo.
90 seconds.
All right, hold on a sec. Oh, it's going to give me that now while I'm doing the outros. Come on now. Don't play with me like that. Grievous was here as well. Combat Ethics, Fisher Genius. Mr. Wawa. If I forgot anybody, guys, I got to go. But thank you for joining us. Catch you on the next one. Take it easy, folks. Thank you for watching.